Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. This is your host, Adam Graham, from more or less the present day. And we are bringing you in this YouTube video a week of archive programs from the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. Now, these were recorded several years ago, are being posted exactly as they were, except I am cutting the opening for all but the first episode to exclude the theme music and as much front matter as I can, and then also cutting down the end to remove some of that contact information. Now, any specific offers or deals offered on the podcast are not actually valid unless they are shown on our current website at greatdetectives.net. This video does contain chapters, so if you don't want to listen to all of the programs in the week, you can skip around to the ones that you want to listen to, just like the original listeners did. Now it's time for our archive programs. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, coming to you with the first of our 5 weekly features. The way this podcast works is we have 5 detectives, one for each day of the week. And Monday, it's going to be Alan Ladd playing Dan Holiday. And so thus we can say every Monday is a holiday for as long as we have Box 13. Box 13 is a fascinating series. I've gone through and I've listened to 4 separate episodes. I went ahead and I listened to the first 3, then I went and did one in the middle just to make sure it kept up the quality, and it's outstanding. It's a very interesting premise because Dan Holiday is very different from some of the other detectives we'll have on the show. The professional detectives. Sherlock Holmes, Pat Novak for hire, Johnny Dollar, George Valentine. These guys, professionals, they do it for the money. He does it to get ideas for his novels. And he puts in an ad stating his willingness to go on an adventure. To do anything, to go anywhere. And figures at the end of the day, he'll have a good, solid story idea. Given all the trouble he goes to, some of us might suggest free writing, brainstorming, any other number of methods. But this is Dan Holiday's method. And it works out to some great radio. And really, I think you're going to enjoy this. So we're going to find out about the first letter he gets from Box 13. Let's go ahead and listen to the episode entitled, ironically enough, The First Letter. And then we'll be right back.
Box 13, with the star of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd, as Dan Holiday.
Box 13, Box 13, Box 13, Box 13, Box 13.
Well, this is great. Rain, rain, rain. I'll bet even the ducks wouldn't come out in weather like this. But me, I'm an idiot. I gotta go and take up a profession like being a writer. I couldn't take up something easy. Oh, no, not me. I gotta be a writer so I can be out on nice, cold, wet nights, beating my brains out, looking for an idea. Idea. Deadline. Oh, sure. Mustn't forget that ever-loving deadline. What a way to make a living. I could have stayed a reporter at the Star-Times and had nice assignments. Like listening to political speeches or covering the opening of a new manhole. Oh, no, but not me. I have to write fiction. Do it the hard way. Well, I might as well take the usual hand, open the usual door to the usual place, and hear the usual comments.
Hiya, Mr. Holliday.
Hiya.
Coffee, boy. Hiya, Dan.
What do you say, Ed?
Just headed to want you. How goes it, Holliday?
Oh, pretty good.
Where's the makeup on page 4? Hiya, Mr. Holliday.
How are you?
Hiya, Mr. Holliday.
Hello, Susie. Anything in box 13?
Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday. Now for Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
What a character I am. Standing here in front of the want-ad counter in a newspaper office while the rain runs down off my coat collar into my shoes.
Mr. Holliday,
I gotta ruin my last pair of... Huh? What's that, Susie?
I said there's a message in box 13 for you. Here,
Oh. Thanks, Susie.
don't mention it. Say, aren't you going to open it?
Sorry. Not here, Susie.
You know, you got all of us down here at the Star-Times awful curious, Mr. Holliday, running that ad.
Have I?
You've been running it for months. Why don't you change it?
Well, I haven't read it for so long I've forgotten the words. How's it go?
Don't you remember? Adventure wanted. We'll go any place, do anything. How about that?
I still like it.
You'd do a lot better with adventure if you ran your picture with the ad.
Oh, no, thanks. Just keep on running it the way it is.
But, gee, aren't you ever going to tell us what you do for a living while you keep running that ad?
Susie, same old question, same old answer. No. Well, if I'm not doing anything else, at least I've got the people at the Star-Times curious. They'd think my brain cells were 10 feet off first base if they knew why I really run that ad. Maybe they are. You can help a person out of great trouble and gain an adventure for yourself if you call Chester 8945 and ask for Carla Williams. Chester 8945. Carla Williams. Sounds like an interesting name. Well, I hope she's home.
Hello?
Oh, this is the man from Box 13.
Oh. Tell me, are you serious, or was that ad just a joke?
No joke, Miss Williams.
Are you willing to try anything?
Well, that depends. What's on your mind?
I can't discuss it over the phone. Will you meet me?
Of course.
There's a little French restaurant down on Ledge Street. Meet me there in the cocktail lounge.
What time?
Make it 10 o'clock tonight. Tell the bartender you want to speak to Carla Williams.
French restaurant on Ledge, 10 o'clock. Oh, what block number?
The 600 block. You won't fail me. You'll be there.
Lady, if it were winter, I'd come with bells on. This sounds like the beginning of a very interesting story. Beautiful woman in distress calls on struggling writer for help. Only she doesn't know I'm a writer, and I don't know she's beautiful.
What's yours, mister?
Oh, I'm looking for a Carla Williams.
Oh, yeah. She's sitting over there in that front booth.
Thanks. Carla Williams?
Yes.
Oh-ho. Carla Williams could be material for a love story or an adventure story. Or maybe both.
And, do you have a name?
Oh, yes. Dan Holliday.
That's a Dan.
Oh, thanks.
I'm, agreeably surprised. I didn't think a person would get such a satisfactory reply from a want ad.
And I didn't think I'd get such a nice reply.
You're wondering about me, aren't you? You're wondering why you're here.
Naturally.
Well, I'm being blackmailed.
That's a very nasty business.
I've been paying blackmail for 5 years, but tonight's the end. I'm to meet him in 15 minutes and make the final payment and get the letters.
Well, that sounds like the end of your troubles.
But is it? I can't be sure. That's why I need your help.
But what can I do?
Well, you can be there as a witness. You can make sure this is the end. You can see that I get the letters and get away safely.
Oh, lady, you need the police.
Why? To make sure everything I've kept hidden for 5 years comes out in the open?
Maybe a friend could do it.
My friends would be the last ones on earth I'd want to know. Are you afraid?
No.
You advertised for adventure?
Blackmail isn't my idea of adventure.
I'm sorry if my trouble doesn't measure up to your expectations. The best I could do on such short notice.
Uh-oh. Well, I guess I had that coming.
Maybe this isn't your idea of adventure, but I do need help. I need help badly. Let's leave it at that.
Now, that might appeal to my early Boy Scout training.
Then you will?
I always help ladies across blackmail raps. What happens if your friend makes trouble?
We can't make any trouble.
He seems to have done all right for the past 5 years.
There won't be any trouble if you're along. Here, reach under the table. Take this.
Oh, now, wait a minute. It's a gun.
Put it in your pocket. Don't let anyone see it.
This is supposed to make everything all right?
Well, you won't need it, believe me. I thought it would make you feel better.
It makes me feel like a policeman. And I still think a policeman is what you want.
But you promised.
I said maybe.
I have to meet him in 15 minutes. Please help me.
Where do we go?
His apartment.
Far from here?
We can make it if we leave now. What do you say?
Maybe I should never have been a Boy Scout. I watch Carla Williams closely as we ride over to the apartment where she's to meet this man she's been talking about. She's perfectly groomed with a certain niceness about her, except for those twin furrows of worry between her eyes and a cold look of anxiety. I don't think I would like to have her angry at me, though.
That's funny. You should have been here 20 minutes ago.
Why don't you try the door?
It was unlocked.
Might as well wait inside. Unless you have any objections.
Not at all. There's a light switch on your right. The living room is straight ahead.
Say, you sound like you're familiar with the place.
Why not? I've been here many times before.
There's a light on him there. Suppose he might have fallen asleep?
Waiting for his money? Hardly.
Well, this is more like it. And this spot is nicely furnished.
With my money. But at least we can sit down and make us... Oh, no.
Miss Williams, what's the matter? What happened?
On the floor by the desk, look.
You stay here.
Well...
You'd better call the police. He's dead.
Dead?
Yeah, he's been shot. Once. Through the heart.
I'm glad.
He's the one? The man who was blackmailing you?
Yes. Could you go through his pockets? He must have some of those letters with him. Look in his coat pocket.
Just a minute, Miss Williams. You don't understand. This man has been murdered. We've got to call the police.
Murdered? What makes you so sure?
There's no gun around any place.
Just the same before the police come. His pockets. Please, I've got to have those letters.
Okay. But it isn't right. Are these what you wanted?
Let me see. Yeah. They're all here.
Now, where's the telephone? We've got to get the police up here and fast.
There is no phone.
No? How do you know without looking unless...
I told you I've been here before.
Oh, yes, I forgot. We'll go downstairs. There's a payphone in the lobby. Tell the police to come up here right away. And come back and we'll wait for them.
You're not planning to leave while I'm downstairs, are you?
No. Here's a nickel. Just dial low and tell the operator you want the police. Hurry.
But you'll be here.
Call, I said. I wanted adventure, so I put an ad in a newspaper. And I certainly found what I wanted. Only this isn't good. A man is lying dead on the floor of this apartment. And Carla Williams and I will have to get down to the police headquarters and answer 1,000,000 questions. All of them embarrassing. I hope she's made the calls. Say, that's funny. Why would there be a telephone directory in a place where there's no phone? Or maybe there is one. Of course, right here in the hallway. I wonder why she said there was no phone here. Maybe it's been disconnected.
Operator. This is the operator.
Oh, fine. I've written a dozen stories like this. And whenever I've reached this point, the hero always finds that he's been framed. Framed? The gun. I gotta look at that gun. Gotta find out if it's been fired. One shot has been fired. And the police surgeon will probably find a bullet from this gun in that dead man's body. The police. Seems like little Carla took care of that. Me, I'm going to take care of something else. I'm leaving.
You are listening to Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday. Once again, Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
Well, right now I'm wishing I were half as smart as the heroes of some of my stories. I've got a murder, a strange woman, a strange apartment, and a strange feeling that this might not work out to a happy ending. What I need is a cab, a quick trip home, a short drink, and a long, long think.
Sure is a rotten night to be out.
Yeah, it sure is.
Never seen such rain.
Not so good.
Cops are sure busy tonight.
Sounds like it.
Wonder who they're after.
I wouldn't have any idea.
Could be a murderer, you know.
Yeah, just could be.
Just a night for a murder.
Perfect.
How come you got so wet?
It's raining.
I know, but how come?
My umbrella needs recovering.
You want the Normandy Arms?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's your building up ahead, but it looks like you got lots of company.
What do you mean?
Them's prowl cars, mister. All over the place.
Oh, this is very nice. Carla Williams called the police and must have mentioned my name in passing. I'm the type of interesting young fellow that any cop would like to meet, especially with a murder weapon in my pocket. Tonight, Mr. Holliday, I think you will sleep elsewhere.
Want me to pull right in where all them cops are?
No, they look busy, so maybe we'd better not bother them. Just keep on driving.
But this is where you live, ain't it?
I don't feel like going home tonight.
I could shove them cops aside, you know. This is legitimate hack.
That would be fun, but don't bother.
You're the boss, mister. Where to?
There's a place down on Franklin Avenue. 1612, I think.
I know that place. That's the cheapest hotel in town.
Yes, I believe it is.
Hey, how do you know about a place like that?
I got information there for a story.
What, a joint like that? What are you going there tonight for?
To sleep.
You writing another story?
I'm living one.
Living one?
Yes, I left my typewriter at home.
Well, Mr. Holliday, to what do we owe this great pleasure?
Maybe you're just lucky.
More research on the seamier side of life?
No, not tonight. I'm looking for a room.
A room? Might I remind you, Mr. Holliday, this ain't the Roney Plaza.
Have you got a room?
Any particular exposure you might like?
The less, the better.
I'm sure we can fix you up. That is, if you're willing to pay in advance.
Buck and a half, how much?
$25, Mr. Holliday.
$25.
And if you committed the murder, it'll be $50, Mr. Holliday.
Come on, talk straight.
I don't want any trouble with the police.
What makes you think I'll cause you trouble with the police?
Little box called the radio, police calls. They're a lot of fun to listen to, Mr. Holliday.
Yeah, I'll bet they are.
You'll be comfortable here and safe.
I'm beginning to wonder if I could afford it.
With your money? Don't make me laugh.
I wasn't trying to. Where's your phone?
The one on the wall costs a nickel.
Thanks.
You're staying tonight, Mr. Holliday?
Hello?
You got back there in a hurry.
You. Where are you?
Still in town. What about the police? They with you?
What do you think?
Thanks for putting in a good word for me.
I had to. They made me. Look, I want to talk to you.
I know that feeling. I want to talk to you, too.
I can explain everything.
Like a gun with one bullet fired?
Yes.
A missing telephone that wasn't?
That, too.
Oh. Then you're just the little girl I want to have words with.
Can you come over here right away?
Are the police there?
Oh, that's right. Name a place, I'll meet you.
The corner of 6th and Victor. 10 minutes.
Right.
Follow me, Mr. Holliday.
Oh, where to?
Your room. This ain't the Roney Plaza, but the service is just the same.
I've changed my mind.
You're not staying?
Your rates are too high. I'll drop in again after I've made a fortune. Now I know how the fox feels when the hounds are closing in. Someday I'll have to write a story about a fox. Put that guy Burgess and his Peter Rabbit out of business. Hey, cab!
Oh, it's you again.
Yeah, I get around, don't I?
I thought you were set for the night.
No running ice water. 6th and Victor.
Where did you say you wanted to go?
6th and Victor.
But there ain't no place to sleep there.
Oh, I'm not sleepy. I just want to examine a fire hydrant.
Okay, mister. I'm glad it's your money and not mine.
If we keep on, it will be your money.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Say, is that tonight's extra lying up there?
Sure. Want to take a look at it?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
That picture they got of you on the front page is lousy.
What picture?
You look like you was facing the camera through a screen door.
Yeah, let me see that. Well, this is just wonderful. Prominent writer named by police. Carla Williams accuses Dan Holliday of the murder of Harry Granger. Grief-stricken girl witnessed the murder of her fiancé. And there's going, Carla. It's your word against mine, plus the evidence against me. Now I know why they wrote that song, I Get Along Without You Very Well.
Well, there's 6th and Victor.
Cruise on by.
You ain't gonna stop?
I haven't made up my mind.
Looks like a couple of cops waiting around for somebody.
It's the way it looks to me.
That might be the law.
Yes, they might be.
What do you want to do now?
Get away from here and find a city directory. A chap by the name of Harry Granger should have a home. And he should have stayed in it. I'm either just ahead of the police or right behind them. And if this game keeps up much longer, I'll be right with them.
Yeah?
Oh, Harry Granger live here?
He did.
You the police?
Well, no, not exactly.
A reporter?
I used to be.
Come here, you. I wonder if you're one of them blackmailers.
Just a minute, friend. My coat rips easy.
No, I guess not. If you were, you wouldn't be here.
Mind if I step in?
Come in, come in. This whole thing's got me all upset.
You don't say. Oh, you said something about a blackmailer.
That's what I'm here for. I came to help Harry get rid of those rats.
You mean he was being blackmailed?
For 5 years. I lent him most of the money to pay off with. I told him he was a sucker, but it looks like I got here too late.
You heard what happened?
Saw it in the papers on my way from the station.
Have you told the police?
Not yet, but I'm going to. Who did you say you were?
I didn't say.
You know something about this?
I think I do now. I began to see the light when the city directory listed this place as Granger's apartment.
Can I help?
You might get into trouble.
Well, how?
Breaking into a woman's apartment. After this, I'll use a fire escape, and more of my stories are the most interesting things about a building. From homicide, we'll be out in the hall seeing that no one comes in here. You'll have to work fast, Holiday. You'll have to find something that the police weren't looking for. There must be something. Bills, letters, cards, that's no good. Look for the obvious. That's what I always have my hero doing. Let's see, what's the obvious? Oh, the living room. Now, let's see. That's where the body was. Nothing obvious there. On the desk. No. The table. No. The fireplace. Hello. A small frame snapshot. And I think it might be just what I'm looking for. My old friend, the bartender, and Carla Williams. And with your arms around each other. You know, you two make a nice couple, a wonderful couple. I wonder if they'll let you have your arms around each other in the electric chair.
You are listening to Box 13, starring Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
Well, I finally made it. I'm down at police headquarters in the office of a tall, gangly character named Lieutenant Kling. Of course, a few things have happened. Carl and the bartender were brought in, too. It's so much cooler than I am. Oh, those cell bars give you such fine ventilation.
Holiday.
What's that, Lieutenant?
I said you were a very lucky citizen. After what Carla Williams told us, we thought you were guilty.
You should have told me that story. I'd have believed it myself. Proving that she and the bartender were married put a crimp in her act as the injured fiancé.
Yeah, you showed it up as the same old racket. Smart woman teams up with smart man to blackmail innocent citizen. But just the same, I think you should stick to your writing and let police work alone.
Lieutenant, I'll have that printed and framed in blonde walnut.
Hang it on the wall?
No, around my neck.
I'm glad to hear you say that. You may not always have a guy like this Grant who backed up your story.
Oh, Granger's friend?
That's the one.
Say, he's a nice fellow. Wants me to visit him on his ranch.
Why don't you do that?
Riding the range all day when I could be cooking in town?
Pardon me. Homicide, Lieutenant Kling. Oh, yes, he's here. It's for you, Holiday.
Oh, thanks. Hello?
Mr. Holliday, this is Susie.
Yes, Susie.
Can you come down to Star Times right away?
Oh, what's the matter?
There's another letter for you in box 13.
Oh, no.
Should I open it and read it to you?
Oh, not now, Susie. I've got enough material to last me for a month. 3 weeks of which will be a rest.
Tell me where. Maybe I can come down and help you.
You really want to help me?
Sure I do, Mr. Holliday.
Then put that letter back in box 13.
But, Mr. Holliday...
Good night, Susie.
Next week, same time, Alan Ladd stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Alan Ladd appears through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures and may currently be seen in Wild Harvest. Box 13 is written and directed by Ted Hediger. Original music composed and conducted by Rudy Schrager. This is a Mayfair production.
Welcome back. Well, with an ending like that to the episode, you would expect, if this were a movie, for Dan Holliday to have learned his lesson about seeking out adventure in the classifieds. No, not so, obviously, because if that were the case, we wouldn't have made this the first series. But this is, in so many ways, this was such a well-crafted, well-put-together episode. Really, a lot of adventures, a lot of twists and turns. This really foretells some of the great things we're going to see from this series. So, we'll be back next Monday with another holiday episode of Box 13. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, coming to you with our second show in the series, Pat Novak for Hire. Now, I'll make a confession. I actually planned on going through each series in a 5 times a week marathon. So thus we go through Let George Do It, all 200 plus episodes in existence, and we go through Sherlock Holmes, and we just do every single episode. Then I, working through this series, gave me the picture that if I just went with Pat Novak, even for the limited time that this series was in existence, and so therefore the limited number of episodes I'd end up getting, I might not have anybody listening by the time we got to the end. Because it can be a little bit of a different series. But the big thing that occurred to me, particularly when you think about some of the bigger series, was that it made a lot more sense to go ahead and to do 5 different detectives, so people get some variety, but they also get some consistency, so they know what they're expecting. Unfortunately, what this meant is we had to go ahead and redo a lot of the intros and outros. So we're redoing the intros and outros because they reference "We'll see you tomorrow," when you're not going to get another episode of Pat Novak till next Tuesday. But it's a series I actually like. This is Pat Novak's first. Not Pat Novak, but this is Jack Webb's first serious series as a detective, coming on at age 26 to begin the role of Pat Novak. And in many ways, this is incredible just in terms of the dialogue. This series has some of the most incredible dialogue, for good or for ill, that you'll hear anywhere. This series, written by Richard Breen, starred Jack Webb as Pat Novak, originated from San Francisco on KFO. So this is the very first. This is the only San Francisco originating episode of Pat Novak we actually have, featuring Jack Webb anyway. So this is a very special episode. We're going to get into it. Check out the show notes site, greatdetectives.net. Got any comments, feel free to email me, box13@greatdetectives.net. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into tonight's episode, Go Away, Dixie Gillian.
Cinderella lost a shoe and so she got a maid. With lovely shoes a girl can't lose. In Gallon Camp she'll raid.
More miles to a Gallon Camp. Yes, Gallon Camps, the family shoe stores with the yellow fronts. The largest shoe chain in the West, with stores from Canada to Mexico to serve the West. GALLENKAMPS, Gallon Camps present Pat Novak for Hire.
Sure. I'm Pat Novak, for hire. That's what the sign out in front of my office says. Pat Novak, for hire. Down on the waterfront in San Francisco, you always bite off more than you can chew. It's tough on your windpipe, but you don't go hungry. Down here, a lot of people figure it's better to be a fat guy in a graveyard than a thin guy in a stew. That way, you can be sure of a tight fit. Oh, I rent boats and do anything else that makes a sound like money. It works out all right if your mother doesn't mind you coming home for Christmas in a box. I found that out Wednesday night about 9 o'clock. I closed the shop early and I came home to read. Well, it wasn't a bad book if you ever wanted to start a forest fire. It was one of those historical things, and the girl in it was just getting her second wind and her third man when the door to my apartment opened and the place began to get crowded. From where I sat, the crowd looked good. She sauntered in, moving slowly from side to side like 118 pounds of warm smoke. Her voice was all right, too. It reminded you of a furnace full of marshmallows.
Good evening.
Yeah, thanks for knocking.
I don't think you mind my coming in without warning.
No, I get the cabbage smell from next door the same way.
Does it pay to be that polite, Mr. Novak?
Saves you the trouble of saying please. What's on your mind?
That bottle in front of you. Will you pour me a drink?
No. You'll save dough if you look up a bartender.
All right. I came to use you instead of your whiskey anyway.
Talk.
My name is Lee Underwood. I'll give you $300 to do something for me. It'll only take an hour.
That's too much dough unless it's murder. And if it is murder, it's not enough dough.
Are you afraid?
I just don't like paid murder. I told you. When you get caught, the pain gets expensive.
If it were murder, I'd do it myself. Mr. Novak, I want you to frighten someone for me.
Why don't you hire a friend? Are they too pretty?
It's a man named Dixie Gillian. You'll find him in an office down on Folsom Street, at this address. I promise nothing will happen to you.
That's what they told Billy Kahn.
He'll be in this office until 11 tonight. I want you to go in and see him. Tell him you're from Adrian, and that he's to get out of town by tomorrow noon.
Suppose he wants to put it off.
He won't. Don't let him know who hired you. Just tell him Adrian said to leave.
Yeah. You better go home. For $300, I won't buy a tissue paper plot. Now tell me more or say goodbye.
There's not much more I can tell you, except there won't be any trouble. He's a rotten little beast, and I want him frightened badly.
Why?
He's been bothering my sister.
Why doesn't he bother you?
Because I bother back too fast. Do you want the $300, Mr. Novak?
Yeah, it's going to be a long winter. Put it on the table.
Good. And you'll need this, too.
No, you keep it. I don't want a gun.
It's empty, don't worry. See? No shells. It's perfectly safe.
Now, look, I've got a nasty disposition. You can rent that for $300, but if you want more, find a gunsel or an off-duty copper. Will you?
I don't want you to be a gunsel. That's why I want you to use this gun. I know it's empty. If you use it on Dixie, he'll scare fast. It's just a way to save some breath.
All right, it's your $300.
You better go now.
Yeah. Wait till I get a coat, will you? If your doorbell rings, don't play mouse.
Oh?
Because I may look you up.
Am I too young to ask why?
Because if anything goes wrong, I'll be around looking for you. And from there on, it won't be nice. I'll dirty you up like a locker room towel.
Relax, Patsy. You'll never learn to fall in love that way.
She handed me the gun and walked out of my apartment. Seeing her leave made you feel like Frank Buck losing an argument. She walked with a nice, easy swing of a satisfied leopard, and for a small leopard, she had pretty good spots, too. I put the gun in my overcoat pocket, and I went down to Folsom Street. The address was down near the bridge entrance, and the street was deserted except for a couple of winos near the corner trying to buy back 1926 at $1 a jug. I stopped in front of the place. It was a machinery company. I could see a light burning in the back. I began to walk through the place. It was so quiet you could hear a worm with whooping cough, and there were enough shadows around to keep a ghost happy for years. When I got to the office back in the corner, through the glass, I could see a man sitting at the desk. When I opened the door and walked in, he didn't seem surprised.
Come on in, mister. You bet on noise.
Yeah?
That's right. You make too much for a thief and not enough for a customer. What do you want?
About 10 words if you're Dixie Gillian.
Go ahead.
You better look up a timetable.
What makes you that tough?
This.
Oh. Why do you look tougher with a gun? Does it make you talk faster?
I'm going to say it slow, mister. Pack up your rompers and get out.
Is that you talking or somebody else?
I'm just the guy with a gun. Adrian does the talking.
And he says get out.
That's right. You got the whole message now.
All right, you told me. So wander out and spend your dough.
I will.
You'll need part of it, though, because I'm going to give you an answer for Adrian. I'm going to take that gun away from you, mister. You can pick the pieces out of your head on the way home.
You better stand back or I'll share it with you.
You got your offer, mister. Let's see you make good.
Yeah. Save your muscle,
Drop
fella.
that gun, will you?
Save your
Drop
muscle,
the gun.
fella. The gun's empty.
Somebody fooled us, mister.
Sometimes you can get a home run with a half swing. That's the way it was this time. He couldn't have made it with a prayer book in both hands. He slid down to the floor and trembled for a moment and then flattened out like a leaf in a pool of water. Just before he died, he grabbed his side as if he didn't like the way it hurt, and then he didn't care. I rolled him on his back and let him look at the ceiling. His eyes were open and he looked surprised, like a guy who didn't figure on a change in the weather. There was a scar that ran across his forehead and dug deep into his hairline. And he was lying there with a bunch of pink gum showing as if he was trying to pick up a few bucks with a toothpaste ad. I didn't have time to tell him how sorry I was, because if homicide caught me here, I'd have about as much chance as a canary in a basement full of cats. I started for the door. Right then, I knew I could start ordering birdseed. It was Hellman. And he walked over to have a look at the body.
Hello, Novak. The guy looks embarrassed.
Yeah, I guess he is, Hellman.
What's he doing dead?
Putting in a beef somewhere, I guess. He rates it.
He'll like you for that, Novak. How did it happen?
A team play. We worked it out together.
But you've got the gun.
That's right. I got the gun.
You feel like a bet?
No. Just keep stealing the old way.
You know how I feel, Novak?
Yeah, you feel flabby to anybody else, but to yourself, I suppose you feel good. Now, look, I walked in here with a gun. There was some quick fight talk, and I killed him, but it's still not a good rap.
I can get a long price on it for you, Novak.
I'll bet you can, Hellman. You can give me a bad deal, but part of the time it'll be from the other side of the deck.
Worse than that, Novak. It'll be all the time, and I want to watch you because I think you're going to be a crybaby.
I'm going to scream, if that's what you mean, Hellman. I'm going to scream about a gal that sent me in here with an empty gun.
That's a big hole for a cap pistol, Novak.
I got a last-minute curve. It was empty once.
Yeah. That's the only way they make a gun, Novak. I don't want you for an hour ago. I want you for this dead guy on the floor.
All right. I told you I didn't come in here to kill the guy. I don't know him. He may even be a good guy. I'm sorry he's dead.
All right, Novak. Just wait a few weeks and you can tell him personally.
Hellman had me up against the rail, and he knew it. When we left there, he was wearing a big, toothy smile. It was big enough to sew in his ears. He called the coroner, and he told him to pick up the stiff, and then we rode downtown. He dropped the gun into ballistics, and he hauled me into his office. The reporters were there. He gave them the whole story and told them how to spell Hellman. After that, we wound up at the desk, and he booked me on suspicion of murder. The next hour and a half was the kind of stuff they don't write about in the paper. They call it interrogation. And when you're finished, you've been through a lot of tight spots, like a piece of bubble gum in a set of false teeth. About 11 o'clock, Hellman brought me into his office, and from there on, it happened kind of fast.
I just talked to the DA. He's going to streamline things for you.
Well, he's going to look funny, going to trial on a guy you can't identify.
I won't press you. I don't have to, Novak. I've got the only parley I need. You, the dead guy, and a big, fat murder gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hellman talking. Yeah, I know it was a .38. That crazy down in ballistics, I saw him standing over the dead guy. Well, they must have made a mistake, that's all. No, I don't want him in here. I don't want him in here. Hey, Tony. Tony,
You're getting pale. You need some more rouge, Hellman.
I got some bad news, Inspector.
Well, keep it, or you'll take more home to your wife. I'll talk to you later.
No, talk to him now, Hellman. If the bullet doesn't match the gun, talk to him now.
That's right, Inspector. A .38 bullet, but it won't match the gun you brought in.
It's got a match. I came in and found him standing there. He admits it.
It's a neat trick, then. If he fired the bullet out of that gun, he retooled it in midair.
I'm not that fast, Hellman. Get out of that chair so you'll have room to squirm.
You keep still, Novak.
Oh, I won't bother you. I'm going home.
Huh?
I'm walking out of your jail, Hellman. You've got a broken-down .38 that won't fit anything but your thumbs. You can't hold me on that.
I found you over the body. I can hold you on suspicion of murder.
But it'll hurt tomorrow morning, Hellman. The papers will be down here for a follow-up. And you'll have to tell them what it looks like out in left field.
I'll handle them.
You can't afford to let them start laughing at you. People will get the idea it's your face.
You can save car fare if you stay right here. Because I'll have you back by noon tomorrow.
You're not that good, Hellman. You couldn't hold a moth with a searchlight. The town ought to thank you.
Huh?
Oh, it's a nice jail, Hellman, and with you around, it'll last for years.
We'll return to Pat Novak in a moment. You're going to put extra warmth and comfort in your Christmas wishes this year. How do I know? Well, because I've seen the Gallencamp Christmas gift slipper collection. You know, everybody's talking about it as the gayest, brightest idea on the gift shopping horizon. When you visit your neighborhood Gallencamp store, well, then you'll know why. There you'll find slippers for every member of the family. Soft and cuddly warm ski capers for Sis, handsome embroidered Chinese slippers for Mom, warm shearling-lined opera slippers for Brother, and good-looking smooth kid opera slippers for Dad's fireside loafing. Yes, and there were appealingly soft and gorgeously colored shearling scuffs to delight the heart of any young lady from 16 to 60, and slippers for the little nippers. All are irresistibly comfortable, good-looking, and irresistibly Gallencamp price. Go to Gallencamp's, the store with the yellow front near you, to buy Christmas gift slippers that'll say Merry Christmas in a heartwarming way. Give more smiles with a Gallencamp slipper gift. And now back to Pat Novak.
When I walked out of headquarters, I had a nice mess to juggle. It was like trying to walk the baby on a floor full of marbles. If things didn't add up for Hellman, they weren't doing any better for me. I knew the gun I had went off. If it did, what happened to the bullet? And where did the other one come from? And why weren't there two shots? Oh, I couldn't put my finger on a thing, and nothing added up. It was like trying to follow a grain of rice in a Shanghai suburb. I looked up Lee Underwood's address, and I went by her apartment. The girl downstairs told me she worked at a nightclub out on the Bayshore Highway. Well, I had a couple of places to hit, so I looked up the only honest guy I know. An ex-doctor and a boozer by the name of Jocko Madigan. A good man until he began to figure the last drink in a bottle is just as easy to get as the first. Well, I found him in a little leather-trimmed sink on Powell Street. It was a grimy little hole where they washed the glasses once a week in stale beer, but Jocko was more at home than a vulture in Calcutta.
Patsy, you're just in time to celebrate my return to health. Something mild for Mr. Novak. A double stinger, perhaps.
No, forget it, Jocko. I got to talk to you.
Patsy, I've just passed through a crisis.
Yeah.
A few minutes ago, they set before me a glass with a woman's lipstick all around the rim.
All right, Jocko.
I took one gulp and looked at the glass, and in this dim light, I thought I was bleeding to death. It took them 10 minutes and 3 mirrors to calm me down.
Jocko, I'm in trouble. You got to help me.
No, but they washed the glass for me in ammonia. They must have left a little ammonia in the glass because the next drink had a very odd tang about it. I've had 3 more just like it, a sort of ammonia colony.
All right.
Well, so far, they've been using domestic ammonia. When the imported stuff comes in, I may give up whiskey altogether.
Calm down, will you, Jocko? I got a bum shake tonight.
Yes?
I either killed a guy or I thought I did.
Well, that uses up the alternatives. What are you doing now, taking a vote?
I got hired to scare a guy down on Folsom Street. 10 minutes later, the guy was dead.
Oh, Patsy, you take your work too seriously. Couldn't you have just scared him into a lingering illness instead of killing him?
One of the props was an empty gun. Only when the fight came, it grew bullets. Hellman walked in right after on a telephone tip.
Oh, what are you doing out of the electric chair?
Oh, the whole thing backfired down at headquarters. The bullet and the phony gun wouldn't match. Oh, Jocko, it doesn't add up. The call to Hellman's a tip-off. I was framed, but why wasn't I framed all the way?
Well, who is the dead man?
It's a guy with a falling blood count. His name was supposed to be Dixie Gillian, but there's no identification and no record on him.
Oh, you shouldn't have hired out as a gunsel.
I told you I didn't hire out as a gunsel. It was somebody else's idea.
Oh, you have no conscience, Patsy. Just a sort of soap opera rule of thumb you put into practice now and then, but no real conscience. You'd let a dying woman lie in the middle of the highway, unless her head was resting on a pile of war bonds.
All right, Jocko, I'll cry with you later. I need help now.
Oh, what sort of help?
I want you to break into a girl's apartment.
Yes?
Don't worry, she won't be home.
Oh, is that supposed to be an incentive?
Here, it's at this address up on O'Farrell. Her name is Lee Underwood. She's the one who hired me.
Well, if the girl's not there, what am I supposed to find?
Anything that'll connect her with the dead man. He's a big guy with a scar.
Well, that doesn't help much.
You can't miss. Go through the desk and the drawers. Pick up everything you can. Leave a message at my place, huh?
Oh, as soon as I finish this drink.
Hurry up, will you, Jocko? Leave the glass alone and get going.
Don't rush me.
Hurry up. The glass is empty anyway.
Yeah, that's what you thought about the gun, but the fellow got an awful jolt out of it. Good night, lover.
I went by a horse parlor on O'Farrell Street and borrowed a car from a guy. It was after midnight when I started down the Bayshore Highway, and about a half hour later I pulled up in front of the Cat's Paw. It was a long, rambling place on the left side of the road. No, there was no plan. It just followed the erosion line until they ran out of material. There was enough neon in front to light a main intersection in heaven. I asked a 50-year-old busboy, and he said Lee Underwood was back in her dressing room getting ready for the 1 o'clock show. When I walked in, she was sitting in front of a mirror, working on an upswept hairdo. If she swept it up any more, it was going to leave her head. I stood behind her, looking at the pink, fresh part of her neck that didn't show when her hair was down.
You seem fascinated, Patsy.
No. I just want to know where to break it.
Oh? Sit down on the footstool here next to me. That's it. I like to look down on people. Here, let me brush that strand of hair back. Or do you like it in your eyes?
Brush it back so I can see your answers. Who's Dixie Gillian?
What difference does it make?
None to him and some to me. He's dead.
No. No, he couldn't be dead.
He'd like to believe that, too. I couldn't sell him that story about an empty gun.
He couldn't have been killed with that gun.
No?
No, I put in a blank, Patsy.
Somebody used a hard-working bullet because Dixie's dead.
There was no reason to kill him. I don't understand.
That makes you even with homicide, but they got a bigger team.
I don't understand it, Patsy.
Who's Dixie Gillian?
He was after some microfilm. I thought I could scare him away.
You better be ready to identify him because homicide stopped. Even the scar didn't help.
What scar?
Scar across his face. There's no record on him.
Oh, no, Patsy. Everything goes wrong. Everything you touch goes wrong. That's the wrong man, Patsy.
Yeah. Well, it's too late for a recount.
You've got to get to that body, Patsy. I don't know how, but some way you've got to get to him.
You look good, Lee. You'll make a nice picture.
Wait a minute, Dixie.
You don't need your coat. Come on.
I don't know how it happened, Dixie. I didn't mean it that way.
If you like it that way, all right. Bring your boyfriend, too.
No, don't let him, Patsy.
Oh, that gun's too big. I'm going with him. It was a short trip. He led us out of the dressing room and down a thin hall to the back door. On the way past the kitchen, you could smell onions and used grease, and that's all you noticed, except the sound of a jukebox somewhere out in front, and someone laughing in a loud, mirthless way. When we got to the door, it was raining outside. We walked about 40 feet, over near some trees where the dark was working overtime, and the gunsel made her stop. And that's where it happened. She's going to get wet, mister.
You'll have a little trouble yourself.
When I woke up, it was still raining, and I was lying on top of the mud like a stubborn seed. My wallet was gone, and the gunsel had ripped open my pockets. I stood up, and I walked over for a last look at Lee. The rain had washed the makeup off her face, and she looked small and tired as she lay there, like a broken doll that had been tossed out in the rain. I guess she was. I got to the car, and I drove back to town. I checked my place, but there was no word from Jocko, so I went up to Lee's apartment. When I opened the door, the room was dark, but I knew someone was on the floor. Either that or they'd varnished the floor with bourbon. I flipped on the light and bent over Jocko. Wake up, Jocko. Come on. All right, Jocko, wake up.
Oh, a little ammonia. I think, would bring me around.
What happened?
I was sapped, I guess.
Yeah, everybody's got the same act tonight.
Help me up.
All right, come on.
Where have you been?
I went down to meet the girl.
Huh? Where'd you meet her? In the swimming pool?
I've been in the rain all night. She's going to stay longer. What'd you find out?
The fellow with the scar is her husband.
Yeah?
There's a picture in the desk.
Are there any more pictures?
Oh, a few. Take a look.
Where, in here?
Yes.
Well.
Who is he?
Must be Dixie Gillian. He was down to pay off a debt tonight. She called him Dixie once.
There's a note with that name and address in the other drawer.
He's our boy. We better get up there.
Not if he's already killed 2 other people.
We can't wait for Hellman. If he gets away, I'm all through. I won't have a leg to stand on.
That's my point. When the other fellow gets through with us, we won't have much standing to do.
I felt better now. Gillian was the only guy left in the picture, so I dragged Jocko up to his place. It was an apartment on Post Street. The elevator operator took us to the 8th floor and said that Gillian had come in a few minutes before. There was no answer, so we tried the door and it was open. Jocko didn't like the idea.
Oh, Patsy, this is folly. Risking my life is one of the bravest things you do.
Keep still, Jocko. What are we supposed to do? The door was open, wasn't it?
So are a lot of graves, but I've never been tempted.
Hey, look at the furniture. There's been a fight here. I'll look in here. You check in the bedroom.
If I'm not right back, don't expect me at all.
Yeah.
Patsy, come here.
Yeah?
There's somebody on the fire escape.
Stand back here.
He's not moving. He was leaning that way when I first saw him.
I'll get on this side. You raise the window. Go easy, Jocko. Can you see him from there?
Raise it a little more. He's still leaning there. I can reach out.
Now watch yourself. If he's kidding, you'll lose an arm.
I've got him. Raise the window more.
Yeah.
Oh, Patsy, he's falling. Give me a hand.
Well, here, let me through there.
Oh, it's too late. I can't hold him. He's falling. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He was probably dead anyway.
If he wasn't, that was a step in the right direction.
Oh, it was an easy night to die. 3 of them had checked out already, and there was still time to look for more. Jocko and I went downstairs to see the guy. He was lying face down in the alley, and as you looked at him, you got the funny feeling he belonged there. He didn't disturb the scene. He just fitted in, like a dirty, wet newspaper under a grandstand. There was a gun in his pocket, probably the same one that killed the girl, but there was no way of knowing. Jocko and I watched him for a moment, but your eyes begin to hurt when you see your only warm lead in a deep freeze. Well, it was past 2 when I got down to headquarters, and I looked up Hellman. I briefed him on the girl and the guy in the alley, and then I asked him if any microfilm had turned up on the first guy in the morgue. It was a waste of time. Hellman couldn't find a brass ring in a dead man's nose, but we went over to the morgue for another look. So far, it was working out like a crossword puzzle torn in half.
It's your time, Novak. I got more after tomorrow. You haven't.
The microfilm must be on the guy. 3 people have been killed for it, and I got roughed up just for laughs.
We searched the guy once. Here it is. Help me roll it out.
Yeah. Well, well. He sure got thin under that sheet, didn't he?
Wait a minute.
Oh, you run a good morgue, Hellman. What'll the papers say when they hear the stiff got up and walked out?
They got him in the wrong place or something. He didn't walk out.
He's gone, Hellman. Have you got an answer?
He's been moved, I tell you. The guy was dead, and I saw him put him here. He couldn't be walking around with a hole in the middle of his back.
Oh, I don't know, Hellman. You can do it with one in your head. Don't sell the guy short.
We'll return to Pat Novak in a moment.
Cinderella lost a shoe and so she got a mate. With lovely shoes a girl can't lose. In gallant camp she'll rate.
What girl hasn't dreamed Cinderella dreams of her own and wished for a fairy godmother to make those dreams come true? Here's what the newest Cinderella, Marilyn Buford, Miss America, says.
The modern girl doesn't waste time dreaming. She makes her dreams come true, and she needs no fairy godmother to give her lovely shoes. She doesn't, that is, if she has discovered my favorite shoe store, Gallencamp.
Yes, Marilyn. For gracefully lovely shoes, flattering and in the latest fashions, wise girls go to Gallencamps. Gallencamps are shoe-style leaders.
And so amazingly priced, a girl can afford to have all the shoes she needs.
And here's extra good news of a special Thanksgiving shoe sale. Yes, prices are actually going down on many of the up-to-the-minute shoe styles tomorrow at Gallencamps. So shop this sale at the Gallencamp store near you tomorrow to step assured into the exciting holiday activities ahead. Look lovely in Gallencamps.
Cinderella lost a shoe and so she got a mate. With lovely shoes a girl can't lose. In Gallencamp she'll rate.
And now back to Pat Novak.
When Hellman found out the body was gone, he stood there and stared at the empty slab. And then he started looking around in a nervous way, like a man trying to find the sugar bowl at a restaurant counter. A few moments later, he turned and walked out of the morgue, and we were halfway downtown when it happened. It must have hit us at the same time, sharp and quick, like a piece of candy in a bad tooth. That guy back in the alley had come off that slab in the morgue. We got out to Dixie's place, and we began to check. There was a phone operator downstairs, and she said Dixie had put through a call about 2 hours ago. Hellman checked the number, and it was the ticket office of a railroad. We got downtown, and we ran through the timetable. There was a train leaving the Oakland Mole in 40 minutes. Oh, it was an outside chance, but tonight that was the only kind for sale. We got down in time to slide on the last ferry over to the Mole. It was still dark out when the ferry pulled away from the slip and started across the bay. Over toward the Berkeley Hills, it was beginning to get light. The sky was the color of a bruise spot on a man's arm.
We'll get up to the pilot house and tell him not to dock until we've gone through all the passengers.
He doesn't have to be in on this one.
He'll check the train when he gets there.
Wait a minute. You don't have to check. There's your boy.
Where?
Up there. On the rail. Now, you better go easy. He's not a scale model.
Just walk quietly until we're behind him.
Yeah.
Turn around, mister. You'll get a better view.
Hmm? Oh. Well, hello, Novak. How was the wind and the rain in your hair?
Meet Inspector Hellman. You better turn in your ticket.
Well, I hope you brought your muscle.
Grab it, Hellman.
That's what I'm trying to do. All right, copper. What's it? I'm being pushed over the rail.
Yeah, I'm worried, Hellman.
What's it, Novak? I'm going over. Novak! That's one down, mister. Now for you.
Yeah. Well, I landed on the deck, and I watched him disappear in the dark. Halfway down, the guy turned in. I followed him down the ladder and along the main deck. He ducked into one of the engine spaces, and I started in to look for him. Oh, it didn't take long, because he turned out to be helpful.
You got the idea yet, Novak?
I'll come closer. Tell me then, huh?
Suit yourself, but I'll knock you down hard when you show.
Hey, watch that platform. You're backing into trouble.
Stay back there, Novak.
Watch out for that platform. You're backing into that engine. Look out.
No! No! No!
I kind of wound up last, huh?
Yeah. That's the way it looks. Did you get the microfilm?
Yeah. Oh, I got a big hurt. Does it show?
A little.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long night, Novak, huh?
Yeah. But your worries are over. It's almost dawn.
I don't know. I don't know if I can use it, but I'll give it to you.
Well, they fished Hellman out of an oil slick a few minutes later. It was the first time his hair ever looked good. Dixie Gillian lasted long enough to piece the story together for homicide. Lee Underwood was on the level. She knew her husband was carrying microfilm and was worried, so she hired me to scare off Gillian. It might have worked, too, because Adrian was too big for Gillian to argue with. But the first slip came when Lee's husband went by to make a deal with Dixie without telling her. Well, when I jumped him, Dixie was outside and figured it was a double cross. He didn't have time to figure it, but he killed him with a silencer when Lee's phony gun went off. Well, he spent the rest of the time looking for the microfilm. That's why Jocko got sapped and the girl got hers. And by that time, Dixie knew the microfilm was still on the dead man. The only way he could be sure was to get the body out of the morgue. He took it up to his apartment, and when he got the film, he planted the gun and put the body on the fire escape. It was safer that way. There was a 50-50 chance the police would miss it the first time around, and he'd have a fair lead. It almost worked out for him, except for that phone call. The microfilm? Well, it was in a capsule next to the roof of the guy's mouth. Yeah, so old it was new again. Well, Hellman asked only one question. In that fight, did I have anything to do with pushing him against the rail? I told him. Sometimes those ferry boats roll as much as 45 degrees.
Be sure to join us next Sunday evening and every Sunday, same time, same station, for radio's newest show, Pat Novak for Hire. And don't forget, the store with the yellow front is the Gallencamp Shoe Store. Gallencamp shoes are good shoes. There's something about them you'll like. Franklin Evans speaking. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Welcome back. Definitely a very different series from Dragnet. In fact, Webb's first tries on the radio, he would either play, do some guest spots, oftentimes as underworld figures, or he would do the private eye, who was always showing up the police, which of course led to his famous crossing paths with a police officer who suggested a series that told the truth about what police work was, leading, of course, to Dragnet. The mystery here, the actual mystery, you gotta admit, is kind of a weak rule here. It's there's not a whole lot of depth to it. It really plays on the adventure and comedy elements. And in some ways, as I listen to these shows, I tend to think Pat Novak may have been better off as straight-up comedy. But I don't think that was necessarily Breen's talent or style. But this is an early episode, so there are several better ones. You just have to be patient and listen to them. Our next show is going to be Let George Do It. Now, Let George Do It really is one of those series that got better as time went along. And that I think partially explains why we've got so few episodes from the 1946-47 season. Many of the sites said the show was more sitcom than a detective show. And indeed, it's the initial audition episode we're going to listen to from May of 1946 was kind of a lighthearted thing. The show stars Bob Bailey, who would go on actually to, after Let George Do It, would go on to star as Johnny Dollar, and he played Johnny Dollar in more episodes than any of the other Johnny Dollars combined. However, this Let George Do It was a great show in its own right. The show was on the air from 46 until 54. This was a solid run of shows, and really a good performance by Bob Bailey. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in this show. Check out the show notes site, greatdetectives.net. Got any comments? Feel free to email me, box13@greatdetectives.net. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into tonight's episode of Let George Do It here on The Great Detectives of Old Time Radio.
Standard of California invites you to Let George Do It. What's the quickest starting, smoothest running gasoline on the road today? Chevron Supreme. Faster pickup, too. Take a tip, friends, and fill up with Chevron Supreme at your nearest Chevron gas station, garage, or standard station. Start down the highway or in traffic, and you'll be thankful for a tank full of Chevron Supreme gasoline. George Valentine has been out of uniform only a few weeks. Blessed with an abundance of energy, an adventuresome spirit, and not too much money, he has sunk his last dime in office rent, a few pieces of furniture, and an ad in the classified section of the daily paper. An ad which reads, "Do you have a crime that needs solving? Do you have a dog that needs walking? Do you have a wife that needs spanking? Let George do it." Now, 3 days have passed, and George, sitting on his swivel chair with his feet up on the desk, is still anxiously waiting for a client. Suddenly, the door bursts open.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes?
Mr. George Valentine?
Yes, come right in. Have a seat. Oh, here, take this one. It's softer.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, don't mention it. Have a cigar?
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're too young. Wait a minute. Here, have a chocolate bar with almonds.
Oh, thank you.
Now then, what can I do for you?
Well, I came to work for you.
Work? Oh, I thought you were a client.
Oh, no, sir. Well, that's all right. I'll get it.
Hey, wait a minute.
Good morning. Let George do it.
How do you like that?
Well, I can make an appointment for you. I'm Mr. Valentine's confidential assistant.
That's nice to know.
Well, if you're that close, then come right up, Mr. Winters. Here, goodbye, sir.
Now, look here, Bottom Button.
I'm Sonny Brooks. You can call me Sonny.
Well, now, look here, Sonny. Who hired you?
Well, I come with the office. You see, Caleb the elevator man is my friend. He knew I was looking for a job, so he said, Sonny, whoever gets that office gets you, too.
Yeah, well, you're too young, Sonny. Things may get a little rough around here.
Oh, that's okay, sir. I'm a very rugged character. Now then, Mr. Winters will be here soon.
Winters? The mystery writer?
Yes, sir. Jonathan Winters. He just phoned.
Oh.
We can discuss my salary later. I'll go on the payroll as of today.
Whether I like it or not, huh?
Well, I have a feeling you're going to become very fond of me, sir. I grow on people.
Yeah, like a wart. Okay, Sonny, call an employment agency and get me a secretary.
Well, that won't be necessary, sir.
Why? Don't tell me you type also.
No, but my sister does.
Your sister?
Claire. She'll be here soon to start to work.
Say, does your whole family go with this office?
Well, I don't have much of a family. There's just Claire and me.
Oh, that's tough, kid. But you're lucky. I haven't even got a sister. Tell you what, maybe we can sort of look after each other. How about it, huh?
Oh, that'll be swell, Mr. Valentine. I'll be glad to take care of you, sir.
You're okay, Sonny.
Well, you like Claire, too. She's prettier than I am.
Oh, perfect. It doesn't matter if she can type or take dictation, just so she's prettier than you are.
Mr. Valentine?
Oh, yes, Mr. Winters. Come right in.
Mr. Valentine, I'm here because...
Oh, it doesn't matter what the job is, Mr. Winters. I'm your man. Just throw your problem in my lap, and I'll come up with the right answer.
Mr. Valentine, I'm about to be murdered.
Now, don't take it too seriously. A lot of people... Murdered?
Murdered?
You're joking, I hope.
I'm not joking.
Oh, well, that's a little out of my line, Mr. Winters. I mean, that is... Well,
Mr. Valentine, I have been murdered.
Suffering cats.
Oh, well, don't stand there, Sonny. Do something. Call somebody. The police, the fire department. Yeah, I'll get a doctor. And Sonny.
Yeah, Mr. Valentine?
Don't get excited. Look at me. I'm perfectly cool.
Going up, miss?
Is Mr. Valentine's office in this building?
Fifth floor. Step in.
Oh, thanks.
You're Claire, ain't you?
Why, how did you...
Oh, family resemblance. You look like Sonny. Nice boy, Sonny.
I think so. Of course, I'm prejudiced. You know what sisters are like.
Yes, I'm the same way about Georgie.
Georgie? You don't mean Mr. Valentine?
Of course I do. Known him for years. Used to work for his father. Georgie and me got to be good friends on account of his curls.
Curls?
He must have been all of 4 years. Had the prettiest long curls you ever did see.
Really?
Yes, I talked his ma into having them cut off. Georgie and me have been close friends ever since.
I can understand that.
Hey, you going to go to work for him?
Well, I'm going to apply for the job.
Well, you keep an eye on him, hear me?
Well,
You know, that boy never thinks to eat unless someone reminds him. Oh, it's the 5th floor.
Oh.
And don't let his talk fool you. He tries to act hard-boiled, but I know Georgie. Underneath it all, he's still a little boy with them pretty long curls. The first door to your left. Oh, there he is now.
Caleb, get a doctor up here right away.
Eye, ear, nose, or stomach?
I don't care. Just get a doctor.
I'll get Dr. Mack. He took very good care of you that time you had that cold, remember?
Mr. Valentine.
Well?
Is anything wrong?
Oh, no, nothing trifling. Now, run along, sweetheart. And if you're a client, come back tomorrow, will you?
I'm Claire Brooks, Sonny's sister.
Yeah, well, come back tomorrow.
Mr. Valentine.
Well?
You're going to interview me for the job whether you like it or not. I spend 10 cents on bus fare to come here.
Look, here's a dime. Now be a good girl and beat it.
I certainly will. I wouldn't work for you if you offered me $1,000 a week to sit behind a desk and do nothing but powder my nose.
You could stand a little powder at that.
Oh, you...
Wait a minute. You had any experience as a secretary?
Of course.
Can you mend socks?
Mend socks?
Iron shirts, sew buttons, cook breakfast over a can of Sterno?
Mr. Valentine, are you looking for a secretary or a wife?
Oh, a secretary. I'm still a bachelor. Knock on wood. Had one close call, though, but I got away from her. Lucky guy.
Lucky girl.
Say, you're all right. Okay, you're hired.
Thank you.
Now give me back that time.
What about salary?
Well, we'll discuss that after I collect my first client.
How do I know you'll ever get a first client?
My first client? Oh, I've got one now. I don't know what I'm going to do with him, but I've got him. Come on in and see for yourself. That gentleman stretched out on the floor is my first... Sonny!
Yeah, Mr. Valentine?
Where is he? Where's the body? Where's Mr. Winters?
Suffering cats, Mr. Valentine. He's gone.
Makes sense, will you? Mr. Winters couldn't have just disappeared into thin air.
It's like I told you, Mr. Valentine. I went into the waiting room to phone the police, and the next thing I knew, you were out here yelling for me.
Look, this window is open.
What of it?
Well, don't you see? It leads to the fire escape.
Yeah, and this door leads to a closet, and that door leads to a... Well, never mind.
Will you be serious? Mr. Winters was shot.
Well?
Maybe his murderer followed him here to your office. Maybe he hid out on the fire escape listening. Then when you left the office, he dragged the body out.
I'll bet Sis is right.
Sure.
Oh, look, kids, we haven't got time to puzzle over it now. I'm in a jam. The police will be here any minute.
The police?
Of course. Sonny phoned them. I'll look pretty silly trying to explain that the body disappeared. My first case, and I make a mess of it.
Oh, don't get discouraged, Mr. Valentine.
Well, to tell you the truth, Sonny, I don't know what to do next. I haven't even got a clue.
Still a little boy in curls.
Curls? Oh, Caleb's been talking to you, huh? He's a swell old gentleman, but don't take him too seriously.
Why not?
Well, he thinks I know all the answers. And look at me.
Mr. Valentine, why don't you go out and find a clue?
Find one? Where?
Well, did Mr. Winters have a family?
Well, I don't. Hey, wait a minute. I've seen pictures of his wife in society papers.
Good.
Oh, Claire, you're wonderful. Hey, remind me to raise your salary.
What salary?
Well, when you get one, remind me to raise it. See you later.
Where are you going, Mr. Valentine?
To Mr. Winters' home. And when the police come, stall them.
But, Mr. Valentine, what'll I tell them?
Tell them nothing. You've got charm, haven't you? Well, use it.
Mr. Valentine, I've got to know. What do you think happened to my husband?
Now, just take it easy, Mrs. Winters.
Oh, I was afraid something would happen to him.
Why?
Well, he was so worried. I thought it was because his writing wasn't going too well. He hadn't been able to write anything in a long time.
Oh, your husband is the famous mystery writer, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I've read some of his stuff. The Case of the Body in the Bathtub, Murder Has the Hiccups.
And this is his study.
Oh. Say, quite a layout. What are all these papers?
His manuscript. He was working on The Lost Corpse.
The Lost Corpse? Cute title.
Oh, it wasn't coming easy. He knew it had to be good, or it'd mean the end of... Mr. Valentine, what are you looking for in that wastepaper basket?
Well, I don't know exactly. I just got a hunch.
I want the truth. Was he murdered?
Relax, Mrs. Winters, relax. The very best man in town is on the job.
Who?
Who? Well, me, of course. Is this The Lost Corpse?
Put that manuscript down. Don't look at it.
Why not?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just a superstition. Jonathan never wanted anyone to read what he was working on.
Oh. Then, of course, you haven't read this.
No, certainly not.
Did your husband have any domestic trouble?
Domestic trouble? Jonathan was devoted to me.
Was? Why the past tense?
Well, I don't know what I'm saying.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes, what is it?
There's a policeman downstairs. He wants to talk to you.
A policeman?
I'll be right down.
Yeah, well, look, Mrs. Winters, you haven't seen me, understand?
But why?
Your husband trusted me. Why don't you try it?
Well, all right, Mr. Valentine.
Look, any way I can get out of here without going down the stairs?
Yes, that door leads to my husband's private elevator. It'll take you to the back entrance.
Say, he thought of everything.
He liked to come and go without disturbing the rest of the household.
A clever man. Okay, Mrs. Winters, I'll get in touch with you tomorrow.
Tomorrow? You mean you'll have news for me?
Well, maybe it'll be news to you. And then again, Mrs. Winters, maybe it won't.
Mr. Valentine, what's the idea of dragging me out here in the middle of the night?
Keep your pretty little mouth shut, will you, Claire?
What is this place, anyway?
The back entrance to the Winters home.
Haven't they got a front entrance?
Sure, but we're not using it. We're here to steal something.
Steal? I'm supposed to be a secretary, not a second-story man.
Keep quiet.
Mr. Valentine, I quit.
Yeah, some other time. Now step into that elevator.
An elevator? Where will this thing take us?
Up to Mr. Winters' workroom.
Pitch black in here. I don't feel safe.
I'm here.
That's what I mean.
Shh. Now keep quiet.
Oh!
What's the matter?
You don't have to hold my hand.
I'm not holding your hand.
Well, someone is.
Don't scream. I've got him covered. Put him up, you...
Get that gun out of my ribs.
Sonny, I told you to go home.
I have a feeling you're going to be very glad I'm along, Mr. Valentine. You might need me.
Yeah, like I need two heads.
You could use two.
Now, both of you stay right here. I know where the desk is.
Well, what do you want in there?
I've got to get the lost corpse.
Lost corpse?
You mean you think Mr. Winters' body's in there?
Yeah. No, the manuscript of his book. Now, keep quiet. Don't make a sound.
Oh, Mr. Valentine, what was that?
Just an old shin of mine.
Hey, I hear somebody coming up the stairs.
Okay, kids, we can beat it now. Everything's under control. I've got the lost corpse.
Is it a good story, Mr. Valentine?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you going to let us read it?
Mrs. Winters wouldn't approve.
Oh, what's she like? Is she attractive?
Never mind Mrs. Winters. What about the lost corpse?
Well, it's a very unusual story about a man and his wife.
How original.
The wife would like to give him the gate, but she hasn't any money of her own.
Mm-hmm.
However, she stands to collect a lot if her husband ever kicks the bucket.
Is there a murder?
Natch. The husband is shot, but he manages to make his way to a private investigator's office.
Huh? Is that in the story?
Sure.
But that's what Mr. Winters did.
The husband tells the investigator he's about to be murdered.
Hey, that's what he told you.
Then he collapses. When the investigator steps out of his office, the wounded man disappears.
Just like Mr. Winters did.
Well, that's what actually happened.
It is? Well, what do you know about that?
Well, go on, Mr. Valentine. Then what?
Well, later the guy returns to his wife, and he says, "You thought you killed me, but I'm not dead yet. You...
Yes, go on.
Well, that's all. That's as far as Mr. Winters got with his story.
No wonder Mrs. Winters didn't want you to read it. It's a story of their life.
It shows she's guilty. She killed her husband.
Georgie. Say, Georgie.
Oh, yeah, Caleb, what do you want?
Where's Mrs. Winters? Is she all right now?
Mrs. Winters? What are you talking about?
Well, I left her in your waiting room. She came to see you.
Oh, when was this?
A few minutes ago. She acted kind of funny, like maybe she was sick.
Come on. There's not a sign of her. Caleb, are you sure you left Mrs. Winters here in my waiting room?
Mr. Valentine, look, on the table.
A woman's purse.
With initials on it, M.W.
M.W. Marcia Winters.
Sure.
Do you think the same thing happened to her, Mr. Valentine? Someone followed her here and hid out on the fire escape?
No, I don't think so. She heard us talking. She knew we thought she was guilty.
Oh, of course.
All right, Caleb, thanks a lot.
Well, that's all right, Georgie. Call me if you need any help.
Say, how are you two at playing games?
Games at a time like this?
Look, Sonny, you be Sonny. I'll be George Valentine. And Claire, you be Mr. Winters.
What?
Now, Claire, step outside the office. Give us a few minutes, then come in and say you expect to be murdered.
Oh, I get it. You want to reenact the crime.
Smart boy. Okay, Claire, get going.
First I'm a second story man, and now I'm an actress. I quit.
Oh, go on. Claire, be a good sport. Humor me.
I said I quit.
Yeah, well, we haven't got time now. You can quit tomorrow.
Oh, all right. But you can think of the silliest thing.
Now what'll we do, Mr. Valentine?
Huh? Just exactly what we did when Mr. Winters first stepped into this office. Okay, Claire, come on in.
I don't think she heard you.
All right, Claire, we're ready. What's the matter with her?
I'll get her. Claire, you can come in now.
Claire? Where is she?
Suffering cats. What a mess. Now my sister's disappeared.
Well, now Claire has disappeared. We'd better give George a couple of minutes to think of some way out of this. Ever notice how it sometimes takes a couple of days to get accustomed to a change in climate? But not everyone knows that a change in climate or altitude can affect the way a gasoline performs in a car. You'll never have reason to notice it either if you drive on Chevron Supreme. That's because this great premium gasoline is tailored to each different climate and altitude zone in the West. Wherever you go, you get a Chevron Supreme that gives you the same fast starts, the same flashing pickup and eager power. Why not give it a try? Just stop at any Chevron gas station, garage, or standard station.
You'll be thankful for a tank full of Chevron Supreme gasoline. Faster starting, quicker pickup with Chevron Supreme gasoline.
George doesn't seem to have gotten very far in his solution of this case. First, a murdered man disappeared from right under his nose. Then the murdered man's wife mysteriously departed, and now his secretary has vanished into thin air.
Are you just going to sit here in your office, Mr. Valentine? Aren't you going to do anything? She's my sister. She's the only sister I've got.
No, take it easy, Sonny. If I thought anything had happened to Claire, I'd be out searching every house in this town.
Well, then where is she?
Well, she couldn't take it, that's all, so she quit, walked out on us. I can't say I blame her.
That doesn't sound like Claire.
Georgie?
Yeah, Caleb?
You haven't had your dinner yet. Don't you think you better go out and get something to eat?
Oh, not now, Caleb.
You could leave by the fire escape.
The fire escape.
A police car just stopped in front.
Oh.
Suffering cats, the police.
Get yourself a nice juicy steak.
Yeah, that's just what I'll do. Come on, Sonny. Go down there and stall him, Caleb.
Oh, I intend to. Now, you take your time and digest your dinner. Did you hear me?
Yeah, sure. Let's go, Sonny. The fire escape. Oh, and Sonny.
Yeah, Mr. Valentine?
Better bring Mrs. Winter's purse along with you.
Excuse me, Mr. Valentine, but aren't you going to stop and get something to eat?
That's the trouble with women. As soon as the going gets a little tough, they walk out on you.
Didn't you promise Caleb you'd get yourself a steak? Boy, a big, beautiful steak.
But you're right, Sonny. She is.
She is, sir?
Much prettier than you.
Mr. Valentine, if we're not going to eat, we can't just drive around all night. We've got to find out who murdered Mr. Winters and what they did with his body, and where Mrs. Winters disappeared to and what happened to Claire. Isn't that right, sir?
And she's very intelligent. That is, for a woman.
Mr. Valentine.
Oh, okay, Sonny. Look at the address on that letter.
What letter, sir?
The one in Mrs. Winters' purse.
Was there a letter in here?
Well, didn't you notice it when Claire opened the purse?
No, sir. Oh, here it is. It's addressed to Mrs. Marcia Winters, 300 Pepper Tree Lane, Cedarhurst.
Uh-huh.
Hey, that's in the country.
Yeah, they must have a country home, too.
Cedarhurst. Yeah, that's out on Highway 6, right near you. Hey, we're on Highway 6. We're headed toward Cedarhurst now.
Brilliant deduction, Sonny. I'll increase your ration of bubble gum.
I filled her up, sir. Oil, water.
No, thanks.
Wash your windshield.
No, don't bother. I washed it once and I couldn't do a thing with it.
Don't get many customers around here at night. Pretty deserted road.
Yeah. I'll bet we're the first car you've seen this evening.
That's right. Oh, except for that cab.
Cab? With a woman in it?
Now, how'd you guess it?
Hey, I'll bet it was Mrs. Winters.
Hang on, Sonny. We're getting warm.
Is this it, Mr. Valentine?
Now, careful. Don't make any noise.
There's a light inside the cabin.
And a woman. See her moving around?
Oh, yeah. I can make out her shadow now.
All right, Sonny, you stay out here.
Mr. Valentine.
I'm sorry, Sonny, but there may be trouble. I can't let anything happen to you.
Oh, but I'm in this with you.
Look, don't you remember? I was going to look out for you.
Yeah, but you may need me. Jeepers, Mr. Valentine.
All right, Sonny, you win. But stick close to me, understand?
Yes, sir. Are we going to just walk right in?
No, of course not. That's no fun. What would they do in a mystery show?
They'd climb in a window.
Then we'll climb in a window.
Mr. Valentine, she turned off the light. Shall I go in first?
No, you get in back of me. Let me handle this.
Yes, sir.
Take it easy, Sonny.
I'm okay.
Oh!
I've got her.
Let go!
No, you don't. Just stay right here.
You're hurting me.
Turn the light on, Sonny.
Yes, sir.
Let's see what we bagged.
Claire!
Well, if it isn't second-story Clarissa.
You have to be so rough. I'll bet you cracked 2 ribs.
I'm sorry. I don't know my own strength.
Well, now that you see who I am, you don't have to keep on holding me.
No, but it's fun.
Claire, what are you doing here?
Well, she saw the address on the letter, so she decided to follow the clue.
Yeah, but why didn't she let us in on it?
She thought I was a dope, Sonny, so she took over.
You know all the answers, don't you?
Not quite. What happened when you got here?
Nothing. The place looked deserted. I crawled in the window, too.
No one here?
I couldn't see anyone.
Are you sure?
Of course. But, well, I've had the strangest feeling.
Yeah?
As though someone's been watching me.
Mm-hmm. Stay here with Sonny. I'll look around.
Suffering cat, sis. You sure had me scared.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sonny, but Mr. Valentine didn't seem to be making any effort to solve the case.
Don't kid yourself. He just keeps things to himself.
Well, everything seems to be in apple pie order.
Hey, listen.
Sonny, Claire, stand back there in the corner. I'll cover the door.
Be careful, Mr. Valentine.
Do I detect concern in your voice?
Well, I don't want to see you get shot right in front of me.
Then close your eyes. Good evening, Mrs. Winters.
Oh,
May I present my 2 assistants, Claire and Sonny Brooks?
how did you know I'd come here? What do you want?
Oh, just want to make talk.
Mr. Valentine, you've got to believe me. I'm not like the woman in his story. I love Jonathan.
Uh-huh. And you're the girl who never reads his manuscripts until they're finished.
Well, Oh, go ahead. Turn me over to the police. I don't care what happens anymore.
That's as good as a confession, Mr. Valentine.
Well, I'm in no mood for confessions. Come on, we're going to play a little game.
Oh, not again.
Sonny, you keep an eye on Mrs. Winters. Now, don't let her leave.
Don't worry. I won't try to run away.
Okay, Claire, you're the wife in the Lost Corpse.
More acting? I quit.
Tomorrow. Now then, I'll be the husband of Mr. Winters' story. Here are some lines for you to read, Claire.
You came all prepared, didn't you?
Is this stuff that you wrote, Mr. Valentine?
Well, of course. I'm a man of many talents. Now then, we'll skip to the part where I walk in wounded and say, "You thought you killed me, but I'm not dead yet." You think you can follow those lines?
I can read, if that's what you mean.
All set? Let's go. You thought you killed me, but I'm not dead yet.
No, I didn't shoot you. I swear I didn't.
But who'll believe you? The police? All the clues point to you.
Do you mean...
Yes, my dear. You wanted me out of the way. When you got your wish, I shot myself. I killed myself. But they'll think you're guilty. You'll pay for it.
I'll get a doctor.
Too late. Too late. Goodbye, my dear. Goodbye. Then I die.
What a performance.
I don't get it, Mr. Valentine.
You wrote this ending for his story, is that it?
Of course. What's a story without an ending?
I'll tell you what Mr. Valentine is getting at. He's trying to prove that my husband shot himself. Shot himself in such a way that it would look as though I murdered him. Why would Jonathan do such a thing? He knew that I loved him.
You don't have to put on an act for us, Mrs. Winters.
Why don't you turn her over to the police?
Now, just keep your shirt on, Sonny. And everybody stand where you are. Don't make a move. Understand?
What are you going to do?
You'll see.
Mr. Valentine, why are you opening that door?
Well, we're going to have some company.
Company? Then somebody is hiding in here.
Okay, you can come on now.
Who are you calling?
Hey, you mean the police are here?
The police. You set a trap for me.
Come on out, Mr. Winters.
Mr. Winters?
Huh? How did you know I was hiding in there?
Jonathan.
Well, how'd you like my way of ending your story, Mr. Winters?
It was very clever, Mr. Valentine.
Oh, Jonathan, you're not hurt. You weren't shot.
I'm terribly sorry you were worried, darling.
Hey, I don't get this.
Mr. Winters couldn't find an ending for his story, The Lost Corpse.
But how did you know that?
Searched his wastepaper basket, found it full of rejected endings.
That's quite right. Finally, I decided to do just what the hero in my book did. So I went to Mr. Valentine. You see, I saw his ad in the paper. Said he could solve anything.
Then, when he tried to go home and explain to you, Mrs. Winters, he saw the police there. So he came out here to hide. Oh. Right, Mr. Winters?
Absolutely right.
I knew I'd find him here. Then when I searched this cabin, I saw him hiding in the closet.
Well, why didn't you say something?
Oh, I wanted to put on a show for him.
Oh, Jonathan.
Oh, forgive me, darling.
Well, come on, kids. They don't need an order.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Valentine. I've got the ending to my story, thanks to you. And with all that publicity in the papers, it's sure to have a big sale. So, name your fee.
Oh, well, I don't know, Mr. Winters. I haven't really thought about it. I say an even grand.
Eh? Oh, yes. I'll send you a check in the morning.
Oh, no hurry, no hurry. I just happen to have a pen and a blank check with me, though. As a matter of fact, here it is, all made out. Just needs your signature, Mr. Winters.
Oh, yeah, yes, of course, certainly.
Suffering cats, $1,000.
There you are.
Thanks. Well, let's go, kids. Good night, Mr. Winters, and if you ever get stuck again...
I'll remember. Good night.
Good night.
Whew, what a day. Now I feel like collapsing. Sonny, come here and put your arm around me.
Oh, sure, sis.
Go away, Sonny. Let George do it.
Tonight, I'd like to play a little game with you, too. A word game. It's very simple. I say a word, and you pop out with the first thing it brings to your mind. All set? Okay, I'll say oil. I'll bet most of you immediately thought of slippery. And that's right. Oil is supposed to be slippery, but sometimes it can be too slippery and slide right off spots it's supposed to protect. This can be awfully dangerous to cars, so we gave RPM motor oil a special non-skid ingredient that makes it cling to engine wear points. That's why it sticks to hot spots on upper cylinder walls that other oils often leave bare and exposed to wear. Other compounds in RPM gently remove carbon, prevent corrosion, and sludge. Try this all-around car saver. Ask for RPM motor oil at any standard station, Chevron gas station, or garage. And remember, fill up with Chevron Supreme, too.
You'll be be thankful for a tank full of Chevron Supreme gasoline. Faster starting, quicker pickup with Chevron Supreme gasoline.
Next week at this time, George Valentine has a difficult problem thrust upon him. You'll probably hear him saying something like this.
You're Mrs. Wentworth?
The Mrs. Wentworth.
Oh, yes, first family.
Mr. Valentine, someone very close to me is in serious trouble.
Oh, I see, Mrs. Wentworth. What's she done?
Well, it's what she might do. You see, she picks up things.
Picks up? Oh, a kleptomaniac.
I want you to watch her closely. Follow her everywhere. Come to my house this evening and I'll explain. Good afternoon, Mr. Valentine.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Valentine.
Yeah, Claire?
Mr. Valentine, don't look now, but your fountain pen is gone.
Let George Do It, starring Robert Bailey as George Valentine, is written by Pauline Hopkins and directed by Owen Vinson. Others in the cast were Shirley Mitchell as Claire, Eddie Firestone Jr. as Sonny, Joe Kearns as Caleb, Georgia Backus as Mrs. Winters, Howard McNear as Mr. Winters, and Horace Murphy as the filling station attendant. The music was composed and conducted by Charles Dant. Your announcer, John Heaston. Be with us next week when Standard of California invites you to Let George Do It.
Welcome back. Definitely not the hard-boiled stories we get from a detective like Pat Novak. But I have to say, collecting $1,000 for a few hours' work where he wasn't even knocked out makes Pat Novak's rate seem quite small in comparison. I don't think Pat Novak would have taken to this case. What is this you're trying to do here? And include wisecrack. But this show, I think, was pretty interesting, and I think you see the promise and potential of the show. It's got a lot of growing to do, and I like it when we can see the development of a show and see when it really hits its stride. And I've heard some of the episodes from later on, so it does hit a very strong stride. But you see just a great connection from Bob Bailey, and a pretty fun little story, even if it wasn't the greatest detective story ever told. So we'll be looking for more next week when we'll let George do it.
A quick note from Adam in 2024. We originally played an episode of Sherlock Holmes the next day. However, that episode turned out to have been mislabeled and was actually under copyright, so we are omitting this from this replay, and we'll go now to Friday's program with yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
I hope you've enjoyed the first 4 episodes, and I really hope you enjoy what we have for you today. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. We're breaking some podcast ground here. Other series like Boston Blackie and Perry Mason have had podcasts made surrounding those characters, but not yours truly, Johnny Dollar. What makes this so surprising is that the show remains very popular. I found 2 separate polls that Johnny Dollar won for the best private detective series. There was, in particular, the Nostalgia Pages poll of 241 old-time radio fans, and then there was the Thrilling Detective poll back in 1999. They came up with different second and third place winners. But Johnny Dollar still came out on top. And when you're looking at competition like Sam Spade and Richard Marlowe, this show had something special going for it. In one way, it's reminiscent of James Bond. Not in the secret agent sense, obviously, but it's a show where the adventure travels. You go to 24 different foreign countries, along with 39 states, to experience all of the Johnny Dollar thrills and excitement. And then you have different actors playing Johnny Dollar. There were a total of 8 different actors that took this role. 6 who went on the air, and 2 additions, one of which we're going to hear today. And each brought their own spin and their own way of performing this character, which gives it a depth and uniqueness. It's really quite remarkable in the remarkable detective genre of old-time radio. The first Johnny Dollar was Dick Powell. Now, Dick Powell's not perhaps someone that's a household name today, but he was a very important actor in the world of not only old-time radio, but films. Prior to 1944, he had been known basically as a light comedic actor and singer. And he had that struggle that a lot of actors do in that role. They want to take on the harder, deeper, more serious roles, and have basically gotten typecast for light work. And it wasn't until the age of 40 that Dick Powell was finally able to break the mold. And that was when he landed the part of Philip Marlowe in Murder My Sweet. And was the first actor to play Marlowe, brought a real presence and showed his skill. While he was off the rest of the 40s, playing mostly noir heroes, and oftentimes some very dark and troubled characters, such as Johnny O'Clock. And so he really wanted to be seen as a tough guy, and you see that in his portrayal of Johnny Dollar. He's still kind of in that stage of his career. Ironically enough, I think after he'd established that he could play the tough guys, he kind of found a happy medium on the Richard Diamond Show between the light comedic first part of his career and the noir part of his career. Kind of came up with a balance that worked really well, and I think you'll find that when we get to the Richard Diamond series. But in Johnny Dollar, he's adding a little bit of extra rogue to the character he played in Rogue's Gallery, Richard Rogue. And so this is a very interesting take on Johnny Dollar, and we'll actually see this same story performed in 5 weeks, when Charles Russell, who was the first on-air Johnny Dollar, does his take on the script, and the writers have their turn at it. But for now, let's go ahead and listen to what might have been had Dick Powell decided to take the role of Johnny Dollar on the air, with this, the first episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Columbia Broadcasting System presents a thrilling new adventure series starring Dick Powell. I'm an insurance investigator. My name is Johnny Dollar.
What?
You heard me, Johnny Dollar, and I can pad an expense account with the best of them. Yep, I'm a freelance insurance investigator, and I live in Hartford, Connecticut. At least that's where I pay rent. My work sees to it that I really live anywhere, except at home. If you're interested in buying me Christmas presents, I take a size 42 suit. Shirt's 15.5 collar, sleeve length 33. My hat size is 7 1/8, except when I wind up a successful case. Then it runs about 7 3/8. At insurance investigation, I'm just an expert. At making out my expense account, I'm an absolute genius. Expense account. Submitted by investigator Johnny Dollar. To Home Office, East Coast Underwriters, Terminal Building, Hartford, Connecticut. Attention. Austin Farnsworth, General Manager. The following is an accounting of my expenditures in the investigation of Milford Brooks III for your company. Expense account item 1. Cab fare to your office in answer to your original call, 75 cents. Tip to driver, $1. Expense account item 2. Shoe shine, 25 cents. You'll remember I got my shoes scuffed when I unsuspectingly walked into your private office.
Milford! No, you must not, my boy. Dollar! Get you away from that window. Don't
you.
jump.
Hey, no, you don't.
Let go of me. Let go of me, you fool.
No. There are better ways of making a big splash in life.
Get away, you...
Well, nice try, Sonny. Now pay attention to teacher. Didn't know I had it in me.
Oh, goodness gracious, Dollar. Did you have to hit him so hard? I hope you haven't killed him. He isn't too strong, you know.
Don't worry. There.
Oh.
Now, Mr. Farnsworth, would you mind telling me on whose head have I the dubious pleasure to be sitting?
That, sir, is Milford Brooks III. His policy with his company is in the amount of $2 million.
Wow.
Yes. And the boy seems bent on committing suicide. Dollar, I want you to stop him.
What do you want me to do? Threaten him with death?
Anything. The conditions of his policy are such that we would be forced to meet with a claim in the event of his suicide. Oh, I say, Dollar, sitting on his head that way, aren't you in danger of smothering the boy?
Smothering him doesn't worry me, but these crew haircuts don't make very comfortable cushions. I'll move down a little. Now, there. Okay. So far, I know this kid is insured for $2 million and that his policy pays off on suicide. What else?
1/2 hour ago, Milford Brooks walked into this office and changed the beneficiary in his policy. Then, sir, he proceeded to demand, not request, mind you, but demand a loan of $500,000.
Quite a touch.
When I explained to him that there were no provisions for a loan in his policy, he threatened suicide.
Which would cost you $2 million. So all we have to do is keep him alive, huh?
And he's managed to make that no small problem. His choice of a new beneficiary is downright frightening. One of the most notorious gamblers in the East. His name is Hatcher, Harold Hatcher.
Ouch.
Oh, do you know him?
Sure. That kid's been a post office pinup boy for a lot of years.
Well, that's the situation. I'm engaging you to protect Milford Brooks' future. Dollar, I want you to protect the boy. Give him something to live for. You know, an interest in life.
An interest in life? Well, let's see. I know here. This should help.
What's that you got there?
Well, it's what's commonly referred to in the more successful of bachelor circles as my little black book.
Oh.
Well, now, let's see. Ruby? No. Her favorite expression is drop dead. Bernadine? No. She'd be the new beneficiary by midnight.
Oh, dear.
Now, here. Here's the one, Butter. Say, Farnsworth, would you mind passing me that phone? The one with the long cord?
Oh, no.
Lie still, Buster. My little friend here is showing signs of life.
Here you are. Maybe you should let him breathe a bit more.
Don't worry. He'll be all right. Hello. Oh, hello. I want to call New York. Yeah. Hudson, 24292.
Dollar, you're not thinking of taking this boy to New York, are you?
Well, I'm going there myself. You want me to keep an eye on him, don't you? Now, don't fret, Farnsworth. All is not lost.
You do worry me, sitting on his chest that way.
Hello? Oh, Butter? This is Johnny. Yeah, I'll be in town tonight. I want to see you. And look, here's what I want you to do. Yes, it's all right to say over the telephone. Yeah, I want you to reserve a table at the hatchery in my name for 10 o'clock tonight. Will you do that? Okay. I'll see you at your apartment in a few hours. But, honey, I can't make it any earlier. I'm sitting up on a sick friend. Okay, goodbye.
I'm not sure that I agree with your methods.
Huh?
Ow! What's the matter? Did he hit you?
Hit me? He bit me. Expense account, item 3. Liquor, $18. Keeping Milford Brooks III peaceful seemed to be the immediate problem. And a bottle of rare old brandy seemed to be the immediate answer. I poured most of it into him, and by the time he started to tick again, he'd gone through the unusual process of going to sleep sober and waking up enchanted. I loaded him into my car, and we headed for New York. As we passed through New Haven, he opened one eye, looked up, saw the Yale Bowl, and gave 3 cheers for old Eli.
Ray, Ray, Ray.
Oh, old Yale would sure be proud of you. Why anybody would want to insure you for $2 million is more than I can figure.
My daddy loved me very much, and my mother loved me very much.
Well, that's nice.
And not only that, but I love somebody very much. And not only that, but I hate somebody very much.
That's interesting.
You know something? Next to one other guy, I hate you more than anybody else.
Oh, here, lover boy, it's the cocktail hour again. Time for your bottle. Rolling along the Merritt Parkway, I felt very much alone with my thoughts. And believe me, they weren't very pleasant company. The way it stacked up for me, Brooks had built up a fat gambling debt with Harold Hatcher and had been forced into making him his beneficiary. The suicide threat that he was holding over the insurance company was a little tougher to figure, unless he was trying to finance a trip for himself to get away from the man with a murder motive, Hatcher. My hungry little mind nibbled away on those unsavory morsels of food for thought all the way to Butter's apartment.
Hey, where are you taking me? I want to go to New York.
If you don't behave, Buster, I'll punch your ticket.
Johnny, darling, welcome to New York.
Well, that's the fastest trip I ever had.
Quiet.
Well, where did you find this?
In a box of Cracker Jack. Let us in, dear.
I don't know about you. Some men bring me flowers, some bring me candy. What do you bring me? A boiled owl and a Brooks Brothers suit.
Pleased to meet you.
Yeah, let's trot him into the bedroom, honey.
You'd look more at home in the bathtub. Let me pull down the cup.
All right. Now, come on, Buster. Lie down.
Charm.
That kid's liquor sure can hold him.
How long have you been playing nursemaid to this bottle baby?
Get behind that bar, sweet, and I'll tell you all about it.
Sure. Horrible examples don't seem to bother you, do they?
If you knew how that guy has been bothering me.
What did he do to you?
Well, let's just say he put the bite on me. Oh, gosh, the river sure does look pretty tonight.
Bourbon and soda?
Now, please, anything but brandy. I've been sniffing that second hand all the way from Hartford. Butter, see that big boat out there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I sure would like to be on it. With you, sailing off to faraway romantic places.
Get with it, darling. That's the 125th Street Ferry.
Oh.
Here's your drink. Come on now. Tell Butter all about it.
So, friend Bourbon and I proceeded to tell her all about it. It wasn't easy. Everything about her kept flagging down my train of thought. The longer she looked at me, the less I wanted of Milford Brooks III, and the more I wanted of beautiful Butter the first, and only. She was a sympathetic listener to my story until I gave her the answer to her first and only question.
And where do I fit into all this?
Well, baby, I thought you understood. My job is to give this poor misguided boy something to live for. That's you.
Well.
Now, honey, hold everything. Don't go getting your corn all popped. You misunderstand. I really mean it. I thought if he just got a look at you and realized that things like you exist, why, you'd make any man glad to be alive. Oh, come on now, Butter. Melt a little. I wouldn't let anything happen to you. You know that.
Did I hurt you?
Oh, no, I'm getting used to it. People have been taking pokes at me all day.
I'm sorry.
Ah, that's better.
You want some more bourbon?
I want some more you.
Well, help yourself.
Honey, it's getting late. Let's make this the last drink.
What time is it?
Oh, it's 20 20 to 10. Oh. My reservation at the hatchery is for 10. Here.
Thanks. Cigarette? Oh, empty. Some more out in the other room. I'll get them.
I'd love to get you on a slow boat to China.
Johnny!
Oh, I'm coming.
He's gone.
What? Well, he can't be.
But he is. The window's wide open.
Oh, the fire escape. What a smart guy I am. Trading 3 drinks of bourbon for $2 million on the hoof. Oh, that's the biggest bar check I ever picked up.
That's a big bar check for anyone to pick up. As a matter of fact, it's a bigger bar check than you've ever heard of anyone picking up before. And that should give you an idea of what to expect in the second act as you follow this new CBS series starring Dick Powell in the title role, yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Well, nobody could say I wasn't working fast. I'd only been in town for an hour, and I'd already succeeded in losing Milford Brooks III. I spent another hour of his all-too-short life expectancy unsuccessfully shaking down the neighborhood for him. And then, feeling very much like a bloodhound that had flunked his sniffing exam, I went back to Butter's apartment.
No luck, Johnny.
Oh, sure, plenty of luck. All bad.
Is there anything I can do to help?
A kiss for luck.
What are you going to do?
Nothing. Just a little phone call.
Police headquarters.
This is Johnny Dollar. Give me missing persons.
Any particular one?
Don't be a wise guy. Lieutenant Fisher.
Yes, sir. Lieutenant Fisher.
Fisher, this is Johnny Dollar.
Hello, Dollar. Who'd you lose?
One man, my mind, and if I'm not careful, my professional reputation. The guy's name is Brooks, Milford III. Got anything on him?
Hold on.
All right.
Don't look at me like that. It wasn't all my fault.
Dollar?
Yeah?
We haven't found him yet, but we think we know where he is.
Huh?
The Hudson River. At 11:15 tonight, his top coat, complete with identification, was found taking a ride on the 125th Street ferry.
Oh. Anything else?
Nothing much. A package of matches was found under the coat, monogram. You don't happen to know anybody whose initials are H.H., do you?
H.H.?
Yeah.
There's always Horace Height.
Wise guy.
Thanks, Fisher. I'll check back with you later.
I'll be here.
H.H. Harold Hatcher.
What are you mumbling about? Bad news?
Looks like about $2 million worth. They found Milford's coat on the 125th Street ferry.
You and your faraway romantic places.
Very funny. I'll see you later, honey, and maybe about 11. Expense account, item 4. Nightclubs. $28. Harold Hatcher's hatchery was in a cellar under a hotel, but the prices were high enough to rate a penthouse. The club was draped in too much satin, its lady customers in too little. The decor was French provincial, the music was Brazilian, and the food was from Dixie. The drinks looked weak and the waiters looked strong. All in all, the joint was a sight for sore eyes, for making them sore. The only pretty thing in the place was a blonde. She came strolling up to my table, her hips unconsciously sending subtle little messages back to the rumba band. She opened her mouth, slid her tongue over her lower lip, and let a few warm, soft words slide out.
Looking for someone?
Well, you'll do until the real thing comes along. Sit down.
Thanks. I won't have a drink.
Well, I didn't ask you.
My name is Janelle.
Janelle? Wow, it's a nice name.
I understand you were asking about Mr. Hatcher.
Well, I asked if he was in. The waiter said he wasn't. Do you know him?
More than somewhat. What do you want to see him about?
A mutual friend, Milford Brooks.
Uh-huh. I know most of the quiet-clothes boys around here, so you want a cop. You don't look like the type that would be a society friend of the Brooks family, so what are you?
I'll ignore that. Is Hatcher around?
He might be.
Well, then come on. Where's his office?
The top of those stairs.
Can I expect any trouble getting in?
You won't have any trouble.
How do you know?
Because Harold sent me down here to look you over.
Oh.
I think you're all right.
So, I won myself the good housekeeping seal of approval, huh?
Keeping a house with you would meet with my approval.
I ran for my life. Had a slow walk up the stairs. When I located the door to Hatcher's office, I knocked once and went in.
Come on in.
Thanks. So I'm Johnny Dollar. I was hired by East Coast underwriters to protect the interest of a kid named Milford Brooks III.
Now, what's that supposed to mean to me?
You know him, don't you?
Well, he isn't exactly one of my boozing buddies.
How much money does he owe you?
Yeah, we've got him on the books for a few bob. Why?
They picked up his top coat tonight on the 125th Street ferry. He wasn't in it. It might have been suicide, or it might have been a knockover made to look like a suicide. What's your choice?
What do you get off asking me about my choice?
Where were you between 11 and 11:30 tonight?
What's it to you?
I thought you might like to rehearse some answers. The law will be asking some questions real soon now.
I don't know why I should tell you, but I was driving around in my car getting some air.
Oh, now you'll have to do better than that. They found one of your match folders under Brooks' coat.
You're out of your mind. Let me ask you. The kid owed me a couple of $100,000. You think I'm going around knocking off my own assets?
Hatcher, I don't know whether you're stupid or bright.
Don't worry about it. I know.
What about that insurance policy?
What insurance policy?
Now, look, Hatcher, we're big boys. We both know that changing a beneficiary in an insurance policy is a legal transaction. That means witnesses. That means it isn't secret.
What are you talking about?
That you and East Coast underwriters and I know all know that Brooks made you the beneficiary in his policy and that you stand to come into $2 million when they fish out his body.
I don't know anything about it.
Motives don't come much bigger.
I'm telling you, this is all news to me, and you and nobody else is going to make me move off that story.
I feel the same about mine. It doesn't take a genius to know that Brooks didn't love you $2 million worth. There's only one logical reason for his making you the beneficiary. You forced him into it. Who'd believe anything else?
Who cares? They'd have to prove it. And brother, that can't be done. Now, how would you... Yeah. Okay, Rocky, thanks for the news. Take the inspector into the bar and buy him a drink. I'll be right down. Dollar, did you turn me in?
They're here, huh?
Yeah.
No, I didn't turn you in. I'm not a cop.
Well, come on. Maybe they just want to sell me some tickets to the policeman's ball.
For a guy in a hot spot, Hatcher was certainly a cool customer. I followed him out of the office, down the stairs, and back into the club. Janelle was sitting there right where I'd left her. And I thought to myself, now there's a gal who should never sit down. She looks so pretty standing up.
Janelle, buy Mr. Dollar a drink. I have to go play 20 questions with some fellas in the bar.
Sure, baby. Anything you say. Anything.
I'll see you, Dollar.
Yeah.
How'd you make out?
Well, you can never tell about a guy like that. He's a smart boy, strong, silent type.
Wouldn't talk, huh? A real close-mouth act. About what?
Oh, just a little doodad. $2 million life insurance policy.
Wait a minute. That young Brooks kid?
That's right.
I knew it. Tried to tell him he'd get into trouble, but he wouldn't listen to me.
Oh, you knew about it, huh? I suppose you also know what was behind it.
Sure, Milford owed him some money. A lot of money. It's in writing.
What kind of writing?
The personal note that Brooks was going to get back if he made Harold beneficiary.
Well, where is this note?
Do I look like the kind of girl who'd put the finger on her boyfriend?
You look like the kind of girl who'd do anything if she wanted to.
Thanks. I'll give you a slight hint. It's in his office. You'll find it in the inside pocket of one of his suits in the wardrobe. What are you waiting for? I'll watch the bar.
Nothing, sweetheart. Nothing at all. Whatever her reasons, Mr. Harold Hatcher's little female playmate was trying awful hard to send him up on a murder rap. And I was going to try awful hard not to let her down. Back in Hatcher's office, I found myself alone in a room with a telephone. And being a guy who can never resist a free call, I unleashed the magic wonders of the AT&T.
This better be you, Johnny Dollar.
Shh, quiet, Butter. I've only got a few seconds.
Seems that's all you ever have for me. Now, if you
Now,
think
look,
that
Angel, just another hour. I'll get you a nice present.
I don't care if you're another century. And as for presents, the last one you brought me was a drunk, and you even let him get away from me. Good night.
Life presents a gloomy picture ever downward toward the tomb. Having wasted those few precious moments of an already misspent youth, I decided I'd get on my pony before Mr. Hatcher showed up. I found Milford Brooks' personal note in one of Hatcher's suits, all right. As a matter of fact, I found something in all his suits. A great big glimmer of light. Expense account, item 5. Taxi fare, $10. I left the office in a hurry, Janelle at her table and Hatcher at his bar. I got out of the club and into a taxi parked a half block down the street. There, I waited until my favorite suspect left the hatchery and piled into another cab, and off we went. On a chase that would have made Ben-Hur look like a plowing bee. We skidded over to Lexington and headed uptown. At 72nd, the cab turned right and pulled to a stop. My driver was on his toes, and his toes were on his brake. We stopped, too, half a block behind.
You want us to wait, huh?
No, here you are. Keep the change.
Hey, thanks.
It was a garage that belonged to a residence on the parallel street a block away. The living quarters upstairs were dark enough to look interesting. I indulged in a bit of genteel breaking and entering. Entering that old barn didn't take much breaking. I crept up the stairs. They sounded like they were left over from an old ghost story. And so did the first voice I heard when I stopped halfway up.
We've got to be careful, especially about that Johnny Dollar. Are you sure he didn't follow you?
That voice sounded awfully dry to be coming from a guy who supposedly had spent most of the night snoozing in the bottom of the Hudson River. It was Milford Brooks III. Get up on your feet, Brooks.
Well, now, wait a minute.
I started this thing slugging you, and I might as well finish it the same way.
Leave him alone, you.
Now, pull in the claws, Angel. And sit on his lap.
You hard-footed. I'll kill you.
Get off of me.
Huh?
I should have known better than to get mixed up with a low-class female like you.
Why, you punk.
Now, hold it. We've pushed the lady around enough, Brooks.
Tell me to be careful, will you? Why didn't you think of that before you led him here?
Wipe your nose, little boy.
Now, don't you go getting fat-headed, gorgeous. I'm only interested in one thing. Saving the insurance company $2 million. And, Buster, I think you've done it for me. This is insurance fraud. It has been ever since you put on that fake suicide attempt. Trying to extort $500,000 out of the company.
Dollar, wait a minute.
Now, come on. We're leaving.
You heard him, Dollar.
Harold.
Hatcher.
He said, wait a minute. He wants to talk.
Yeah, everybody wants to get in on the act. How did you get here?
When the police in this town think maybe a guy's jumped off a ferry boat and nobody's seen him do it, they check the counters on the turnstiles at each end. In the case of Brooks, as many people got off that boat as got on.
Well, it makes sense. They'd hardly hold the guy because somebody lost a topcoat.
How did you know we were here?
You know me, baby. You never go any place I don't know about. Okay, Brooks, you felt like talking. Now I feel like listening. Get it up.
Well, I don't know what you mean.
I know what you mean, Hatcher. 1, he gave you a big, fat $2 million motive for murder. And 2, he did his best to make it look like you did murder him with that broken-down match cover plant on the ferry boat. It's just that simple.
And you, baby?
Harold, please.
You put him up to it, didn't you, you cheap little muscler? Trying to get rid of me, will you?
No, Harold.
Now, calm down, Hatcher. You don't need any gun around here. They're tame.
Well, maybe I'm not. Since so many people have gone to so much trouble to hand me a nice, easy way to make $2 million, maybe I'll just go ahead and make it. I'll show these amateurs how these things are really done. Come on, Brooks. How'd you like to go for a nice, cool, half-a-ferry boat ride?
No, Hatcher. No. Look, it's her fault. I'll give you anything you...
You're wrong, sonny boy. You're going to give me everything.
No. You can't. Let me out of here!
Brooks bolted for the door. Hatcher snapped a shot at him. And I hit Hatcher with a do-or-die tackle from behind. The gun flew out of his hand.
No, you don't.
I beat him to it and swung it straight into his skull. Half the people were lying in the room bleeding. Brooks from gunshot, Hatcher from gun butt. And Janelle and I both stood there panting. But believe me, not for each other. We stood that way until the police arrived.
Dollar, it's
beyond me. I sent you out to protect the life of a very important policyholder, and now where are we? Standing in a hospital corridor, worrying about whether he's going to live or die.
As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Farnsworth, you're only half right. I'm just standing in a hospital corridor.
Dollar, you're heartless.
If you'd been bitten where he bit me, you wouldn't care if you'd lived or died either. I'm getting out of here.
Well, where are you going?
It'll be explained in my expense account under miscellaneous expense. Now, don't fall over when you come to an item for $318.
$318? For what?
Not for what, Farnsworth? For whom? Expense account total. And it all adds up to a little matter of $1,182.23. Which you may say, Mr. Farnsworth, is a lot of money for one man to spend in 2 days. But you must bear in mind that the amount at stake was $2 million. And you know the price of steak these days. It might comfort you to know that I just returned from the hospital. Brooks was strong enough to make a full statement, which you will find enclosed. This in itself should prove sufficient to establish evidence of attempted fraud against your company, allowing you to immediately avoid his policy. It boils down to one sentence, to wit. Brooks and Janelle wanted to get rid of Hatcher so that they could live happily ever after. Knowing those two, they never had a chance. And oh, yes, that that miscellaneous item, the one for $318, it was a bracelet for a certain party who made this special investigation for me very special. Oh, if you want a receipt for this item, I'll send you a lock of her hair. Yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
So, with the final signature on his expense account, Dick Powell as Johnny Dollar has just closed the books on his first adventure in this new CBS series. Be sure to tune in again next week when the expense account covers Special Investigation Singapore, another unusual adventure starring Dick Powell in...
Yours, truly, Johnny Dollar.
Welcome back. A very interesting show. I think that in one way the story didn't fit the opening narration. We were told at the beginning that Johnny Dollar knew how to pad an expense account like no one else. What we saw was that Johnny Dollar, as played by Dick Powell, could have taught some corporate thieves a lesson or two in creative accounting. Including the shoe sign was padding this expense account. The $300 necklace, I think that would have been some serious fines in today's world. But it's old-time radio, so it's all in good fun. All right, well, we turn to comments. We've already gotten a few comments and emails on the show. That's much appreciated. I always encourage people to go and cast a vote at podcastalley.com. And particularly as we're getting started with a new show, your vote's important in helping us get started on the right foot. We've got a link to go and cast your vote for us over at Podcast Alley, so just go to greatdetectives.net, click the link, or just go to podcastalley.com and search for our vote page. I actually got a comment that gave me some thought as we were preparing the opening here. Dave from Gig Harbor writes in, "Hey, Adam and gang, I'm really looking forward to this series. I've continued to enjoy both the very different podcasts Superman and Dragnet, and Adam's friendly introduction of these shows.
Simply put, I'm a big fan. However, I'm a little concerned that those who are unfamiliar with Adam's relaxed and informal style may be ever so slightly put off by the length of the intro of this first podcast. As an attorney, it reminds me of one of my very early jury trials where, when delivering my final argument, I went on far too long, and rather than hitting them with some wit and pizzazz, I delved into the many mind-dumbing and detailed intricacies of my case. I'm afraid I lost that one. Adam, I appreciate your love and enthusiasm for this genre and for this new podcast. However, I'd recommend starting off with a more brief, succinct, and punchy opening that more quickly leads to the episode itself. Without further ado, as you like to say, once your audience is hooked on the shows and becomes more familiar with your style, things will go well. But don't scare them away with too much intro stuff. Well, I appreciate the comment. We had a lot going on, actually, in that first episode. It just, when you're introducing so much. We're introducing a great actor and a new show and really an entirely different format of doing detective shows. So that one was a little bit long. I think that the intros this week have been much shorter. And the reason for that, and why the first part of the shows is not going to be long, except perhaps on the yours truly Johnny Dollar side, is because most of the time we don't have the listener feedback and email, so they're going to be shorter. I decided this time, instead of reading emails and stuff before the show, to do it afterwards, just because fans of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, have been waiting so long to have a podcast out there covering their show. I decided to shorten up the intro on that one, and particularly be sensitive to the fact that we are introducing the show as well as a great actor and big pal. So I appreciate the comment. Another one we got from Mike in Hillsboro, Oregon. Adam is a great host for nostalgic radio programs. Check out his Dragnet podcast too. And if you are just listening to this show and haven't checked out the Dragnet, you can go over to radiodragnet.com and subscribe to that one as well. Emails. I got an email from Leslie concerned about the theme. Well, in answer to Leslie's question about the theme music, I actually decided I wanted a separate theme for this show as opposed to Dragnet. So we'll be having a new theme starting in week 3. Listen for it. It actually came from an Armed Forces Radio Services broadcast of Pat Novak for Hire. And I think it works great for a detective show. And I think you'll really enjoy it. And I hope that it becomes a favorite signal. So, and she asked about, pointed out Jimmy Stewart on radio. That one of the best ways to hear Stewart on the radio is in The 6-Shooter. This is an old-time radio western series starring Jimmy Stewart, which I found on iTunes. You might enjoy it. Well, thanks, and I appreciate that, Leslie. I had listened to one episode, and this past week, on Leslie's advice, I listened to 2 more episodes of The 6-Shooter. It is actually a really good show. It's got a touch of lightness in it, particularly once you get past the pilot. So, yeah, 6-Shooter with Jimmy Stewart, if you can get it somewhere, it is a fun show. There weren't too many of them made. The estimates out there for the number of shows made is somewhere between 41 and 45. So, thanks for the tip, Leslie. Another email we got here. Big fan of the Dragnet podcast. I'm looking forward to the new podcast, especially yours truly, Johnny Dollar. I was really close to trying my hand at doing my own yours truly, Johnny Dollar podcast, but I was afraid I would not have the time to actually complete it all on a regular basis. And hope the new shows are successful for you. I see you have some good background info on yours truly, Johnny Dollar, already on your site. And if you have not, I encourage you to check out the episodes of Jim Widner's podcast that were focused on yours truly, Johnny Dollar. I think he did a great job of providing background on the various Johnny Dollars, and has a great podcast that kind of petered out as of late due to what I assume is other things going on in his life. And thanks for the email, and I did go ahead and listen to that. It's a pretty interesting approach. He basically took episodes from each of the actors who performed as Johnny Dollar, and put them together so you could get a sense of their style. Obviously, since I'm doing a different approach going through, you'll get to hear the second Johnny Dollar next week. And the Johnny Dollar after that, however, will be about 6 months down the line. So I'll go ahead and I'll include that link in the show notes over at greatdetectives.net, so you can go ahead and sample what might be ahead in the future of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. All right, well, that's it for this week's show. Come back on Monday, Box 13 on Monday. Tuesday, Pat Novak for Hire. Wednesday, Let George Do It. Thursday, Sherlock Holmes. And Friday, yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Please join us again. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off. Special thanks go out to Johnny Tusa for providing the opening theme music for this week's episode of The Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. If you'd like to hear more of Johnny's music, please visit music.greatdetectives.net. That's music.greatdetectives.net.